Welcome back to the Fast Life podcast, which is brought to you by Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. As you guys know, I've been wearing these helmets for years, and if you want to find out more about these great helmets, see if they fit, see how they look, and see what kind of options you can get, go to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com and give them a follow at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram. On today's podcast, we got Daniel from Proper Baggers. He's back again. We did it through Zoom. He's stuck in Canada. And we just wanted to kind of calm down some of our FOMO from Daytona this past weekend. And I just had my front teeth pulled out, so I have a lisp in this podcast, and you might even hear it right now. So my apologies. It's going to be like that probably for a couple more weeks until I get used to it. But yeah, let's get into these sponsors right quick, and then we'll start this episode. I'm sure you have all heard of thundermax by now. And if you haven't already, it's time to get your HD dialed in with the thundermax tuner, which is going to take the hassles of tuning off the table. Their auto-tuning technology handles all of the performance upgrades you can throw at it. And for those in the market, the 2021 and up touring and softail applications are scheduled to release in March. T-Max also has a rear suspension that will give you the performance aspects we all want with the comfort of air in their iRide rear suspension. Find these and many more products at shoptmax.com, where you can drop the FASTLIFE offer code and save yourself 10% on your purchases. And don't forget to give these guys a follow on the gram at thundermax EFI. Lexin Moto is my Bluetooth headset company and has been for almost 3 years now. The quality and sound and battery life make those long days on the open road much more enjoyable. Their latest headset, the G16, is designed to make group rides much better with a 16-rider comm system, Bluetooth 5.0, music sharing, and fast USB-C charging. Among the many things Lexin does for our moto community, they also offer the absolute best customer service you could ask for. Check out lexin-moto.com to find out what model suits your needs and drop the FASTLIFE offer code at checkout to save yourself 15%. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at lexinmoto. It's 2022, and I know you're thinking about your next upgrades for your motorcycle. Or maybe you're ready to pull the trigger on that new ride for 2022. Well, House of Harley Davidson is your source for everything HD. And I highly recommend you head on over to houseofharley.com, where you can find just about any part for your bike and the gear you need for the ride. And don't forget to drop the FASTLIFE offer code, which will save you up to 13% on your purchases. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at House of Harley to stay up to date with their events and offers in the upcoming future. When it comes to lighting on my motorcycle, for the last year, it's been electric lighting. Their shark tooth headlight is providing both insane visibility and killer curb appeal. I've paired it with their LED turn signals and brake lights, which are much brighter than factory, with great warranties for peace of mind while you ride. NAM's Custom Cycle Products since 1999 has been offering American-made wiring products for all things V-twin, and Badlands for over 30 years has been offering the most reliable and dependable lighting modules in the USA, all backed by lifetime warranties. Find out more about these great companies at namscustomcycleproducts.com, where you can drop the FL 2021 offer code, which will save you shipping on orders over $100. Now here we go with Daniel from Proper Baggers. Let's go.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
You're not doing video this time, just audio?
Yeah, I don't know how to do video with the Zoom and the Skype stuff yet. I'm gonna learn. Just like you're gonna learn how to get that thing straight.
You see that? Keep calling it in my house. Yeah. Well, you know what? Every time I see somebody doing one of these, and they're doing the video podcast thing, the audio isn't great, and it's all choppy. It's coming in and out.
Yeah.
But when we seem to do this through Zoom, it works out great. Sound is good. Everything is good.
Yeah, I mean, I go back through it and I try to clean it up as much as possible to make it sound as natural as possible. But, you know, it's always about the connection, basically, is what it ends up being. You know, how well your internet connection is, mine is, things like that. So, but yeah.
Well, I upgraded mine recently, so hopefully it's good. We're going to find it out.
But yeah.
There it is.
All right.
Yeah, you see, we're still having technical difficulties.
I'm gonna get it down. I want to figure out how to do this so that we can bring people in on the Zoom or the Skype while we're doing live podcasts to have conversations with other people outside of it. So I'm hoping this year I'll get more time. I'm almost caught up with work. Next 3 months I will be, and I'll be able to devote more time towards all this mess. And I just had my front teeth pulled out Thursday, so I have a retainer in. Yes, I have a retainer in, so I'm trying to learn how to fucking talk again. So if I sound like I have a lisp.
I thought it was the audio. I'll be honest, I thought it was the audio.
I have a lisp right now. So for the next 6 weeks, I have to wear this retainer, and then I go in to get like a new whole front teeth situation. So it's weird.
Wow.
Super weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Long time in the making, no?
Yeah, my whole fucking adult life, So, and
you're gonna be a new man.
I hope so. I mean, it's drained me. Let's put it that much. It's
so
it's been
you gotta
very
take everything out.
Not everything.
Take everything out and start scratch.
So it's just like I've always had a snaggletooth. So
yeah,
they're basically gonna put a bridge across the front of my mouth. So I only have two. I only really had two crooked teeth. They were just big, so it made everything look worse. And so, yeah, it's just been a mess. I mean, I started in January, and I literally went in Thursday to get the front teeth removed, and it's been a whole weekend trying to get back to talking normal. I still have like you said, a lisp or whatever, but it's getting better, So
just
hopefully,
blame it on the audio. Poor connection tonight. Sorry, guys, not the best connection, but it's good.
Yeah, it's been
people tuned in to hear us talk about bikes. They're talking about your teeth. They're like, what did I tune in for?
Exactly. But yeah, man, thanks for doing this, man. I know I hit you up right when you were going on a little family vacation back to the States here. Yeah. So how was that?
I was in Miami last week, and everybody was hitting me up. Are you in Daytona? Are you in Daytona? Like anybody who follows my personal account, that because they saw I was in Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody, I wanted to go to Daytona. I just kind of couldn't swing it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get enough time between work and babies and responsibility. It's everybody keeps asking me about these trips this year, and I kind of have to just pick my battles.
Yeah.
So Daytona, as much as everybody's there, and you and I probably both have really bad FOMO right now, like really bad. And the riding sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not, if I'm going to have to, go to any one of the rallies, that's not the one.
Yeah, for sure. I feel the same way. I definitely, as it got closer, the FOMO really kicked in. But with all this teeth thing, I already kind of knew I wasn't going to have either one of my bikes ready to go to Daytona, and I wasn't trying to fly in. So, but I'm glad everybody's having fun. I mean, seeing everybody else having a good time there is kind of good enough for me. Honestly, just seeing all our friends out there, reshaping that whole event, it essentially is what they're doing. I'm proud of everybody that went out there and made a statement. You know what I mean? All the bikes that were built,
I texted Kyle, Forever Ride Kyle yesterday, and I'm like, when I met him, Daytona 2019.
Yeah.
Like we had talked a little bit on the net. My page was new, and I literally showed up at the booth with him and Monty and introduced myself. And then we hung out, became great friends since then. But there were two of us there.
Yeah.
There were two of us, maybe a handful more of bikes, like performance baggers or Harleys in general, performance Harleys. There were so few of us. And then I messaged him yesterday. I'm like, it's crazy. I'm like, we went from two of us a few years ago to this year. It seems like Daytona is being taken over by performance bikes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't. Yeah, he said, I can't look somewhere without seeing T-bars. Yeah. Everywhere I look.
And I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? It was a matter of time before the trend really took over, and definitely has done that. I've been saying in the last podcast, it's been kind of I guess the correct term is a bittersweet situation where I'm super stoked about it, but I also feel like somebody found my band that I used to love, and now it's mainstream. You know what I mean? And there's part of that. You know what I mean? That feeling.
So on the last time we spoke, we talked about the idea of custom shops now building performance baggers. And they're starting to get on board. And I think this year in Daytona, you saw it a lot. And everybody's pulling out a bike, and all the big wheel shops, just everybody's pulling out.
Yeah.
A performance bike and putting on crazy paints and crazy motors and powder coated this and everything. And I feel like you can usually spot the difference. I feel like I could spot the difference between like a custom shop putting together a bike or like a performance guy who's building them, putting together a bike. I think it's always a level of flash, like a less is more kind of, you know, if you look at Mark's new build, Big Trouble, who cleaned up, he won Best Bagger. That build is beautiful, but it's not crazy loud. It's tasteful. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the bikes that you're seeing now that are like built by custom shops they're just trying to outdo, so over the top. Like, I'm happy to see them. Don't get me wrong. And they're building beautiful bikes, and I'm happy to see everybody on board. I know last time we talked about, you know, how I felt about it, and I said I was worried that people would miss the point of what we're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're building these bikes. Hopefully these bikes are being ridden. But I guess at least it's I mean, I don't want to say raising the bar because it was never about the show. Yeah,
it wasn't. You know, but that's what Daytona is showing us is, you know, it's you know, which, man, I don't want to downplay any of it because everybody winning trophies right now. That's another hard one to say. I'm stoked for them. You know, I understand you know, how good that feels. So I don't want to take that away from anybody, but you know, I don't know. I'm torn. Like I said, I like the growth of everything. But it becomes let's go to this show. And I don't think they really care if they win the show. Like, I don't think Big Trouble cares about a trophy.
Nobody cares. No, for sure.
I think it's more of a, like, they're just stoked to be at a party with everybody. You know what I mean? And I think I see that with them. So Big Trouble and them, it's not like Ben is throwing a fit at Big Trouble because Ben, not interesting, Ben didn't win or didn't get the head honcho trophy or whatever. So, I think that's, if it stays that way, then we're good. But when it starts to go towards everybody's building this for that reason, or when all these custom shops, they don't want to hang out and because they look at everybody as competition instead of like friends or homies or, you know, constituents or whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. It's strange.
Bittersweet. Like you said, it's bittersweet. See, I also think Daytona is going to be the type of show where it is a show because the riding stinks. You're going to ride straight. You're going to do the loop, which is a nothing ride. I think if you look at the other the other larger shows, like, there's better riding. So Daytona, you go for the show. I mean, that's the biggest thing about Daytona. And it's going to show off all the winter builds, all the builds I got ready for Daytona. That hardcore show is really big. It's one of the biggest shows of the year that everybody gets ready for. And then they can spend the rest of the year riding at the shows and enjoying the shows.
It's good. That's a good point.
Being more present, hanging out with everybody. So maybe that's, you know, I do think, like, people build bikes for Daytona and for Sturgis, and almost more so for Daytona because Daytona is like the first one of the year. Yeah. You know, Sturgis, everybody's riding their bikes.
Yeah, it's very rare that someone's going to start a build right now to get ready for Sturgis. So I agree. I'm stuck in that boat where I couldn't finish mine, which I had big aspirations for my bagger, but it's really just going to get a new paint job and a couple more parts. I just ride too much, man. I can't afford to take it down to the frame like I originally dreamed of. Yeah,
I remember you said that you want to go full on, and you're building a T-Sport, right?
Yeah, the T-Sport was kind of like it was always one of my dream bikes, and I found a good deal on one, and I rode it all winter, and then just had a wild hair at my ass 2 weeks ago and decided to paint it, you know?
I saw that. Love it. I love the paint. It's a less is more paint there.
Yeah, I was talking with some guys on Instagram today where I was trying to explain I'm trying to carry my style into a more simplistic vibes. That way, I think I have a tendency to do so much on things sometimes that I kind of, I don't know how to word it. Like, if somebody want to get a bagger done, I'm looking at such a high end of like details and graphics everywhere that it kind of, I price myself out of the category to be able to do it because I don't have the time to, or it puts a price tag up so high that people can't afford it. You know what I mean? And
well, you're probably always thinking you got to redo what you did before. So you're always going a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. So it's always crazier and more time, more elaborate, more this. And it's probably a hard thought process to register to think, okay, well, let me chill it back down, go simple, go clean lines, do like, you know, because maybe in your head, it's not that much more. Does it feel that way?
Well, it definitely still the less is more complicated on the mental side of it than the physical laying of the tape.
Yeah,
because you have to try to achieve more with less, and so that's where it becomes complicated. So, but that can be solved in planning. Planning, designing paint jobs, doing it on paper before you take it to the whatchamacallit. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like it's constantly trying to find ways to challenge myself into redefining myself with paint. You know what I mean? That's the goal with that. So,
but that's good. And I saw you did Mike from New York's bike. That came out really well.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. What I like my style is flow. You know what I mean? Like front fairing to rear fender. I want things to look like it's all like together. It was done together. It flows into the next piece, and that's just the big wheel bagger in me. You know what I mean? From back in the day when we had the tank connecting to the side cover to the bag. So I'm just used to that look with paint, and so when it comes to performance bagger stuff, it doesn't really have that connectivity that big wheels did, but I still want to have that feel of connectivity. So that's kind of my thing. Yeah. So.
Are you doing a lot of bikes? You get a lot of guys hitting you up to do paint?
I've done more bikes this year so far than I have last year. So, and I think after May, I'm pretty much done with bikes until like October. So
it's just helmets, non-stop
just helmets because I travel too much in the middle of the year. You know, I don't want to have anybody's bike.
Are you able to catch up on the helmets a little bit?
No, I thought I was. That shit it's crazy, man. And when I tell people that literally I get 20 requests a day for helmets on Instagram, it blows my mind to even say it sometimes, but I've counted it a couple of times and it's ridiculous, And it's like, I can't take any in right now because I'm too behind. I can only do about 48 a year. And imagine you have 20 people a day asking.
Yeah.
And they're not, maybe 2% of those 20 people a day are willing to pay the price and wait the time. That's still more than 48 helmets a year. You know what I mean?
Still 2 weeks. Yeah. It's still a couple of weeks.
It's tough.
So people, are you taking deposits or people are just,
no, not right now.
You're not taking deposits right now?
I'm trying to zero out everything that I have, zero it out. And then I have to do new pricing because of paint's gone up massively in my industry. There's a lot of things it's just there's been a lot of increases across the board, and I got to reflect that with the paint prices.
So how does you and I always get into these deep conversations, but how does that sit with the businessman in you where you're saying no to jobs?
I'm trying to free up my time because I want to devote more of my year to this podcast. I want to do more with it. I want to create more. I want to create more of I think there's a void right now within the media side of our industry I want to do more. I want to fill it. I want to fill it with quality content that people actually want to hear and see. And, I'd love to, I got a lot of plans, but I have to free up my time because paint is very time consuming. So if I can get it back.
It's your bread and butter.
It is my bread and butter. But at the same time, if I spend as much time on the podcast as I do on paint, maybe this could be the bread and butter. So now that the performance and everything's really taking off, your podcast is really like one of the things in the community that's really well accepted, and it's part of it. Is it easier for you to find people to do the podcast? Well, it's kind of weird because not to toot the horn on one angle, we have had the biggest Harley Davidson podcast for the last 2.5 years. And people can listen to the early episodes when I was finishing my first performance bagger and hear the progression of this whole scene throughout our podcast. The 200 and, I think this is 250 with you, the 250 episodes that we put out. You can hear us talking about like in episode 1 and 2. I don't know. There's this new thing popping up, performance baggers. It sounds good. And then later that year, me and you do that podcast. And then all the trauma that we had with your other Canadian brother and all that shit. Like we've documented quite a bit of our history with this through the podcast. So I think the hardest part is it because the word podcast has gotten used so much that people don't understand the difference between an established one like mine and not to talk shit, but somebody that's just starting and that might be closer to a big name brand. These brands usually don't follow podcasts the way that the consumers do.
Well, a brand will do a podcast. It's a biased podcast, so they do a podcast in how it relates to them. Yeah, you know, to promote their brand. You know, and but I get it. But I know what you mean. There's no other real motorcycle like segment. I don't know, none that I listen to podcast that. You know, there's other guys who do it and do it okay. Nobody puts in the work you put in. Nobody puts out the episodes. Nobody's traveling to get people to do it. I think that's why, you know, people like you, and it's the dedication, the hard work you put into it. And it pays off.
I appreciate that, man. That's one thing we don't have a lot of in this industry is people recognizing the hard work that other people put in to make things happen. I've always done that with you with the Proper Baggers page. I felt like it was a very well curated page that was put on by someone actually involved, you know, and not to say anything about anybody else, but I just don't know any of the other guys as well as me and you know each other. And the same thing, like you were making trips to Vegas to SEMA with Hoffman, and you know we did that podcast there, and you and Kyle and them took that road trip to or that trip to California to go ride bikes. I mean, you know, it's really easy for anybody to start a repost page these days. It's not hard. How to do a repost page and make it and actually become relevant, a part of the community, and not just another, you know, word and reshare page. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't look at a scene and say, hey, I'm going to capitalize off this. I started the page because I initially started the page because I loved the bikes. Yeah. So it was for the love of it, and there was nobody promoting it, nobody doing anything about it. And I'm like, you know, maybe I'll start a page, maybe it'll turn into something. Was always thing. Yeah. And I think the fact that I know everybody, and somebody builds a badass bike, I send them a DM. Yeah. So a lot of people get random messages from me constantly, and it's just me saying, hey, your bike is dope. I'm going to post it. I love it. Good job. You know, I do that every day. I send out almost one of those messages, and a lot of people are like super just surprised that, you know, I guess the amount of followers I have, that I still take the time to tell people they did an amazing job. Yeah. And I have a bike that people know, and I ride it, and, you know, I attend with COVID kicked me in the ass. Yeah. I couldn't leave the country. And then I had 2 babies in the last year and a half. So
you're gonna your children are gonna be like a statistic, like a baby boomer at some point, you know.
Got them by COVID the time babies. They move out of my house. Yeah, they are totally COVID babies, you know. Yeah. And I'm an old dad. You know, I'm almost 50 years old. I have 2 babies at home. So, but I mean, this year I'm starting again. I'm actually doing a pretty big event this year. I guess we could talk about it now, but Laconia in New Hampshire. So Laconia is close to me. So that's the one I always do. That's why I was bugging you. Are you coming down to it and everything? But so I'm going to do a ride on June 17th, hosted by Laconia Harley Davidson. They're helping me out with it. And instead of doing a show, or me, I really didn't want to do a show. Yeah. Because, like, you know, based on talks I have, a show, not that it goes against our scene, but it's not what our scene's about. I love shows, don't get me wrong, but I get bored at a show. You know, if a show was an hour, I'd be cool with it, but I get bored. So I'm like, what else can I do? So I'm going to put on a ride. So we're going to meet at Harley. We're going to have different stops along the way, and we're going to go back to Harley. We planned out the ride with online Good Yasif, Connor. I don't know if you know him. Yeah. So he'll help me plan out the ride. And we'll do a couple good roads, about 150-mile ride. It'll be about a 5-hour ride. It'll start at the dealer, end at the dealer. And we're going to do it to raise money, probably for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So basically, come to the ride. We'll sell T-shirts and stickers, and you can make a donation, and everybody will hang out. So rather than going to a show and seeing the bikes that you see online, go ride with them. Isn't that more fun?
Yeah, I think so.
You know? So that's why. So that's the plan. It's going to be June 17th, Friday, June 17th. We're going to do it. I'm going to announce it as we get closer. I'm kind of putting it together and sponsoring. And I think, and everybody's down to do it. Everybody's down to have fun. I'm telling everybody who's involved, like, come ride though. You know what I mean? And it's not going to be, we're not going to do a ride with 200 bikes. It's not going to be that. It's going to be, you know, you leave now, we'll see what the next stop, go with your homies, go with your friends, and we'll all see each other. If not, it's going to be madness. Like your hood rides take over the streets. You're going to get shut down in Laconia. The cops are not going to like that. But so I'm doing that this year. I kind of just wanted to do something. And then I thought, like, and nobody needs a trophy. Nobody cares about that. Like, the sponsors give money, and we're going to I'll write a check at the end and give it to Make-A-Wish to help some kids, or I'm going to do something with it. I'm not looking to make money, but if we're going to do something, let's raise money for a foundation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, that's cool.
That's my idea. Because the first time I went to Laconia, I met all these guys that I've seen online, Race Glides, Batafora, like all these guys that I've seen online, even, Steve Chamberlain, first time I met him was there. And you want to meet a Steve Chamberlain, you want to meet a Kyle from Forever Rad or a Big Jump.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather ride with him?
Yeah. Well, I think meeting them for a lot of people is a good thing too, but riding definitely is like the icing on the cake. I'm with you though. I feel like our generation or whatever of bikers, instead of like copy and pasting what's been done for the last 50 years in motorcycling events, like I would rather just take the time and curate new ideas, or maybe not necessarily new ideas, but maybe emphasize more simplistic ideas for events. Cause I feel like
it's a twist on an old idea. My original idea was a poker run.
Yeah. And
my dad was in a club forever. And every year they did this big poker run and they raised money. They raised money for their clubhouse. But still, what's the difference? So originally I'm like, I'm going to do a poker run. I'm like, nah, poker run is too much planning. And, they do the toy runs and stuff like that. I'm like, just a ride.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be something? I don't want to be involved in a show, I want to be involved in just having fun and have a ride. And, I've always said I'm not in this to make any money, really. I'm just in it to have a good time. Yeah,
for sure. It definitely gets complicated because, I don't want to bore people with our Campout talk, but that's kind of the concept there is like constantly finding new ways to, like this year we're working on a way to showcase some of the builds that are still being done that didn't quite make it to Daytona, my machinist, his bike wasn't able to get done. Jetty from Big Jetty, he was having the Lowrider S build. Yeah, that didn't get done. So I wanted to try to make a space at the Campout to do a show and shine type situation. I want to do a giveaway, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to do trophies. Does that make sense? But I want to set the bikes up in a way where, because we get a lot of photographers coming out to our shit, so that photographers can take pictures of these bikes and create a lot of content, which ultimately that's what we want, right? Like you want to go to the event and have fun, but if you get to go home and you got a bunch of fucking rad ass photos of your bike or little videos or reels and like all that stuff, it kind of makes it lasting memories and stuff like that. So,
why don't you do, we're both from the car scene, right? Remember the Hot Import Nights shows?
Oh, yeah.
It was like a DJ and a party, and it was at night, and everybody just kind of parked their cars wherever, and that was the show. Do something like that at the Campout. That'd be sick.
Well, it's kind of
a party.
It's kind of, it's already going to be a party, but it's kind of going to be that way. But we just don't have the lights to kind of light up bikes at night, kind of thing. But
yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, this year's shaping up to be something pretty amazing. We got the right names coming. That not necessarily their names, but what they bring with their personality and their energy is really going to help the Campout, be a special one here.
What are the dates?
May 5th through the 8th. And then we're doing here in Dallas. We call it bike out. We call it Camp Out Week. So instead of Shark Week. It's like Tuesday starts the bike night, and then Wednesday we do a pre-party, and then we all ride. It's like from Dallas to the Campout. It's like 200 miles. Then we ride there, and then like I said, it's 3 nights of partying, and we got a lot of brands coming out. So we're trying to set it up to where these brands are not necessarily setting up tents where you're going to be sitting on one side of a table and they're on the other. I was like, come and set up like your own little party area. Does that make sense? Like go to the Simpson corner and go hang out with those guys and drink some moonshine or whatever, just a different vibe. Like I want people to connect with their customers or the people in a different way than over a counter. You know what I mean? So
I wonder if I could squeeze flying in and out for a couple of days for it. I won't have a bike, but I'd love to be there.
A lot of people are coming in that way that won't have a bike. I mean, The good thing about the Campout is like it could definitely be a great riding trip, and it's also you can stay at the campground and have a good time all day. There's plenty of shit that happens there, you know. But yeah, it's a good time. But I don't want to bore people. I'm going to be hammering that down their throat for the next 2 months. So, but yeah, you know, one of the things that's been coming up in a lot of conversations that I've been seeing, and this is a conversation me and you've had many times, but it seems like it never goes away. Is has the performance baggers become the new big wheel in the negative terms yet, or do you think we're still on the up and up on the, you know what I mean? What do you think?
I still think it's going well.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's become the next big wheel. Yeah, I do. Do I think the scene has caught up? No, I don't. I still think you're attracting a different customer. For sure. Yeah. I think, performance has taken over, I think a lot of guys, when they walk into places, they kind of building, once the dealers and everybody's on board and even the big wheel shops, everybody's building these bikes. Well, now people have the option, and the big wheel's played out. I mean, I don't know how people don't see it. It was played out 3 years ago. Now it's so played out. Yeah. It's like, I'm more power to the shops. They're still building big wheels, but I don't know who the customers.
Yeah, I really don't think it's big wheels anymore. I think it's more the fat tires, but I have another question on the fat tire thing, but I just,
so I think it is the new big wheel thing, but I think the guys building the bikes are maybe the big wheel guys who actually wrote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe they're the guys who built them as trophies and they sat in their garages. Those guys are never going to build a performance bagger. But I think the guys who built the big wheels, but actually kind of like riding, put down a little bit of miles. I think those are the guys who are going to build, a performance bike, because you haven't seen any performance bike with huge stereos yet. Maybe you have, but I haven't really seen anything crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think yes, but I don't think the scene has transferred over. I think people are still cool.
Yeah, yeah.
From what I see. I mean, you tell me. What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's been lots of talk with the Torque magazine situation and things like that, but basically what I think that we're having a blurred lines situation, and not that we're the say all to anything, and this is opinions, you know what I'm saying? But so the fat tire was the progression of the big wheel, right? Everybody started doing the fat tire kit. Well, don't get me wrong. I think some of those bikes look sick as hell. Like the DA bikes, dope. I love.
DA just put one out like yesterday or something. Right?
Yeah.
That's
so
really nice.
He did he's done 2 street glides that are pretty much true performance baggers. They did a white one that was on the cover of Torque, but that was a performance style build. I wouldn't call it a performance bagger. You know what I'm saying? I think that it has a lot of the traits of the styling of our bikes, but when you're full air ride front and back, and you got a 23-inch fat front tire, that's really not a performance bagger, right? No. And so I think the argument, not that I think a lot of people do like hearing someone like say what I'm saying right now, but I hate saying it. Does that make sense? I feel like, or let me ask you this. Would you say a fat tire in the 21 range, but with real suspension, would that still cross into the performance bagger scene of?
I mean, is it what kind? Does it have T-bars? Has
it's everything on there. It's barred up. It's full suspension, front and rear. Just has the fat front tire on it. Not like a 23, but just a wider one.
I wouldn't necessarily say like no.
Yeah.
I mean, if everything is there but it has a fat front tire, I would say you'd probably get a better handling bike out of a skinny front tire. But there's guys with fat front tires that have told me, I swear it rides better than anything I've ever had. I've heard that from people.
Yeah, I've heard it too. Yeah.
I think you're still allowed to put your own style to everything. Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it.
I don't either. I really don't.
I have, but that's that's the whole ape thing. I think if you do build a full performance bike but you leave apes on it, I think you're missing it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't flat out say no, it's not a performance bag because it has apes on it. If the one thing you still love is your apes and you build everything else performance, I can't we're in the custom, like this is a custom thing. Aren't you allowed to put your own twist on it and still in the category? I don't know.
That's where it sucks, because at the same time, I 1000% agree. And I like the idea of not giving a fuck what somebody does to their bike and whether or not it's okay to be in there in this club or whatever. But at the same time, it's like if you say, okay, yeah, you're in because this is your version of it. See, I mean, just saying it out loud sounds fucking stupid. Is all you know what I mean? And I know that I know that I've been an advocate for saying that shit forever, but I think it was when this thing was a lot smaller, and I think it was I think I was just more protective of it because I felt like it was a small thing that changed my life in a sense, and I didn't want it to get exploited yet. And now that it has, the argument that I'm trying to make or have made in the past is never going to hold up in in a parking lot full of dudes that.
No, that's the thing. It's everybody's it's the custom industry and its own twist. And I can tell you that every time I've posted a bike that was really, really nice that had apes still on it, the first thing I always say to people when they have a crazy bike and I send them a DM or I'm going to post their bike, I'll always say apes will change your life. That's what I write to everybody because I don't want to say you should put on apes. I want to say apes. Apes. T-bars. Yeah. I say T-bars will change your life. I tell that to people because I don't. Who am I to tell somebody what they should put on their bike? It's more the fact that it rides so much better with it. So if you're building the bike this way, put the right bar on because it's going to change the way everything feels. Yeah. But I will, if I post that bike, I will post it so you can't see the bars that are on the bike. Yeah. Because I don't think comments. It's the right. It's not even the comments because I don't read the comments. I don't really care about the comments. It's more just that, like, it's like doing a bike but not changing the suspension. You know what I mean? Like it's T-Wires is one of the first mods you should do because it gives you that stance, because it gives you that control. Yeah. So if you don't have that control, no matter what you do to the bike, you don't have the control. It's your arms. It's your fucking arms is where you're sitting. It's your riding position. Yeah. If you don't have a riding position, no matter what, you're never going to be able to handle as good as you can, because it's just the way you're sitting on the bike. Like, but I'm not going to necessarily, I don't know. I guess you and I look at things differently where you have a strong opinion and I'm kind of accepting a little more than you are. You know what I mean? So, and we've always said that about each other. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I'll say it right now. I've been, a hypocrite 100% because, not like I said, it was something I really held close to me, and I didn't, want a whole bunch of fucking riffraff into the scene early. But at the same time, at this point now, like the amount of time it takes to argue it or prove a point, like that's not what I want to do on social media. It's not worth it. Like I want to, what I love to do is scroll down my timeline and see a cool bike and go, dude, that's badass. Or see a cool paint job, go, you killed it. Like I just want to comment positivity out there and not get wrapped up into that debate of the getting accepted or not. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've been an advocate of the other, look, you don't have the bars, you're not in the club thing. And I just, I'm changing my stance on it now because You're getting older. I don't care anymore. It's not. You don't care. It's not worth it. It's not gonna. It feels good when you have a point like that and everybody rallies behind you to help you prove that point. But for the mental health of all of us, like what's more important about bikes is just getting out and riding them. So having a good time. If like we all know, we know that a performance bike should have, standard size wheels. It should have T-bars. It should have a pipe. It should have proper suspension, proper base. We know it should be there, but if somebody chooses not to put it on there, okay. Yeah, and I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what it does is it makes, my argument was always that if you don't have a few things that make it different from every other bike that's ever existed, then this isn't new. None of this is. And somebody might argue that, but I feel like it's new. I feel like it's 2015 now. This thing is like become something much bigger. But, then you got guys who I love to death. But, just for example, Brian Clark, when he built the bagger on Discovery Channel that did the land speed record, badass bike. Looks nothing like the type of bikes that we've been building for the last 5 years, but you could argue that that's a performance bagger, or he would argue that. You know what I mean? Well, that's like a drag bike is a drag bike performance bagger. Yeah, that's where it gets weird, right? Because I've posted drag bikes. Do I necessarily think it's a performance bagger? It's hard to say. It's different. Yeah, it's like, is a drag car the same as like a track car? It's the same. They're both performance built. They're purpose built. Yeah.
Yeah,
know?
it's just gotten to a point where that conversation, we're not progressing anything with it anymore. And at this point, there's too many shops that are jumping on board. There's too many variations of these bikes getting built to even play this classification game. It'd probably be different if we were all at the same time. If you bring that bike out and ride with us, then fuck yeah, hell yeah. If you got a full air ride front and rear and you're keeping up with us on the Teledragon or whatever, even if you're not, if you're just partying with us, we're going to still like you. You know, it's not like your bike is,
of course.
You know, your bike doesn't make, your bike is just an extension of you. God damn, it's hard to talk with this thing in my mouth.
Yeah. I think you're doing pretty good.
But,
so how do you feel about, there's a lot of shops, like the big wheel shops, that are putting up performance bikes and they're really trying to step it up. They're trying to blow everybody away. So how do you feel about these bikes? Like there's a handful that I've seen for Daytona that I'm like, they're cool. They're not my style. And they definitely look like a flashy show bike.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
This is what I really think of. I was purposely trying to wait to paint my bike to see what the competition was. And honestly, and I mean this in no disrespect to the people that I'm not speaking of, but Lucky Strike owned Daytona this year with paint jobs, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, between Big Troubles, Benz, RG Destroyers, he really brought the heat this year. And I feel like what a lot of these other big shops are lacking is quality paint. You know what I mean? Like I would say Sketchy's new bike looks pretty good. Whoever painted that did a pretty dope job. Yeah. But there's just something different. I mean, when you take something like Forever Red Kyle and you put his details on a bike, and then you put a real paint job on top of it, like a real skilled painter on it, you know? Or like Poland when he dropped the HPI FXR, you know what I'm saying? Like these paint jobs from these skilled painters are really what separates some of these bikes. And I feel like some of the big wheel shops, this is me kind of just projecting and maybe generalizing a little bit more than I should, but from whenever I used to paint in that industry, I used to get fucked all day long. Nobody wanted to pay me a real price to paint bikes. They always wanted a deal. And now that they're in this world, you can see that they're still doing it because these paint jobs are just not up to par as to like, you know, someone will have $60,000 bagger and then they got a fucking $3,000 paint job on it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, you know? Yeah. If that's what you're going for. If you're just going for building the raddest fucking bike ever and racing around a track, then obviously that paint job is irrelevant to you. But, you know, the paint job is how you separate yourself from everybody else. Because we all know what headlight you're running. We all know what fucking whose carbon fiber you're running. We all know whose tank cutouts you're running. We all know everything else. So the only thing to really make these things a little bit different is the details and the paint. So I don't know. I
think that's why the idea for me being involved in a show isn't something that I care about. Like, I have no problem with it. If there's a show and somebody wants me to judge, you know, I want to sponsor a show. But for me to get really behind something, I'm not interested in being behind a show because I don't care about a show. I care more about riding. And I care more about friends and hanging out. And I would rather go for a ride and hang out in a parking lot and go to the next parking lot and hang out. And I want to see Big Trouble put mileage on his bike. You know, the fact that Adam, RG Destroyer, he built that bike and he took home people's choice, right, at Hardcore. Yeah. And his bike fucking loved what they did to that bike. Yeah. The day we're all posting pictures of the bike, the next day there's videos of him doing wheelies down the road on the bike.
Good ones too, yeah.
Fucking amazing. That's fucking, and if you know Adam, you know that's him. He doesn't give a fuck. He's going to rip that bike around and he's going to beat the shit out of it. Because that's the point. And that's why, like, that's the best part of it. So if all these guys are putting out these show bikes, but nobody's actually riding them, like, it's just a waste. Yeah. So for me to get behind, like, that's why I want people to get on their bikes and ride it. And that's something I want to support.
I like
riding them.
You know, Big Trouble is a special case. You know, he's got back problems and things like that. So him getting out on a cross country rip is pretty difficult. But he's ridden to like the down south Campout, you know, a couple 100 miles from where he lives and some other things in there. I get that. You know, like I said, he's a big dude. So, you know, I bet.
But he lives in the middle of nowhere. Like,
yeah. He's got a long run to get to somewhere cool. You know what I mean?
Look, I was in Miami last week. You know, we were supposed to meet in the middle, and we were going to ride there. You know, I think people give him grief for not riding, but I think he rides enough, and I think where he lives, there is no good riding.
The thing is with Big Trouble is there's those of us that are his friend, and we talk shit to him, and we do it, like, especially me on the podcast, because he can't just clap back at me real quick. He has to hear about it a day later. But the truth is, like, it's nothing but respect for that dude, you know, and what he's brought to the table to our friendships and helping make events better and being a host, a good host for, like, being helpful for the Down South Campout. He was a big help for our FASTLIFE Campout 4, you know, the things in the Smokies with the Smoky Mountain Tour thing. Yeah. Like, he's a well-needed person in our industry and just our friends group. So, but if anybody has ever hung out with him, you know he's one of the biggest shit talkers there is. And so you have to talk shit to this guy. But if you don't know him, you haven't earned the right to talk shit about him, whether he rides or not. Like, that's something that you have to get to know once you meet the guy and drink some whiskey with him. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah.
But again, like, so if I look at myself the last couple of years, I haven't rode as much as I'd like to. Like, all I want to do is be on a bike and ride, and I just don't have the opportunity to. And I live in Canada, so it's that much worse. Like, if somebody has a bike, I'm not going to judge somebody by how much mileage they put down. I'm impressed by the amount of mileage some people can put on it. I know for myself, having a business and, you know, having kids, it's not something I can do. And if I'm going to take a trip, I might have the trailer there just because I want to make the best out of whatever time I have off. Because if I was just having this conversation with Softail George, because there's a show in Toronto I want to go see, I'm going to have a day to do it, or a day and a half to go. But you know what? I could ride 7 hours each way and be burnt out the whole time I'm there. I could trailer back and forth in the middle of the night and at least enjoy my day riding there.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at, you know, somebody's situation and say, you know, they don't put down a lot of mileage, but why don't they put down mileage? It doesn't change how I look at the person or the bike or this and that. And because everybody has their own story. You know, I think if we all were able to ride 25,000 miles a year, we would all do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a guy who builds a bike who sits in his garage and he has no intention of putting down mileage. There's somebody who builds a bike and has every intention of putting down mileage, but he just can't. It's not possible in his life. I'm always an advocate for trying to ride when it is available to you, but not if you can't pull it off, to not take it as like you're not worthy of something. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
I want to push people to try to ride more and to try to take the trips, mainly shops. Like, I want to see more shops because being in the industry for almost 20 years now, and then also sitting down doing podcasts with people, the riding, when they ride their bikes, you can go tell with the shops that actually get out and ride a lot and the shops that just all they do is build. It's a completely different attitude towards motorcycling, the industry, and everything. Riding it, you know, the industry is a pain in the ass a lot of times. There's a lot of things up and down, but riding kind of gets rid of all that and you forget it, and then you start enjoying it again. Then you go back and deal with all the bullshit, right? So I would
hate to work in it because it's something I love so much, but for me, it's my release. It's my escape, riding. Yeah. And as soon as you work in something, you know, what's that expression? If you do something you love, you don't work a day in your life. Like, that's bullshit. Take something you love and work in it. All of a sudden, it's not fun anymore. I can promise you that.
Yeah, and it's years of figuring out.
You're a rare breed that can work in motorcycles and still loves motorcycles. Because I would think most people who work in bikes don't love them as much as they used to.
And that's why why I'm very I guess assertive and opinionated about it, is because I'm constantly looking for ways to push the things out of my way that are stressful, annoying, that take away the love of motorcycles, and focusing on the things that really do bring me joy in motorcycles, especially when you're working on bikes. And so that's what it gets complicated, but you know, all it is just like, you know, it's just like anything. Like I call them like roadblocks. Like, okay, that didn't feel good. I didn't like this. I took in too much work. I couldn't enjoy myself in my free time. So don't take in that much work. Adjust it so that you can kind of have your time. But also I try not to have other hobbies that will, you know, interfere with what I love to do. And it's not that if anybody else has other hobbies, like I joke about all the time, like, look, I don't have time to be a boat guy. I don't have time to be a fucking mountain bike guy. I don't have time to be a softball guy, you know, but that's just me, you know. And if you want to know how I do what I do, then I'm going to tell you how I do it. If you want to go be in a sailboat club, bro, like motorcycles is kind of like, it's hard. Motorcycles really has a hard time being a side chick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
It's gotta be.
It's
too expensive.
That's your hobby.
Yeah.
Like I love cars too, but at the end of the day, my car stuff is it's how I get to A to B. Whether I take my newer car, or my older car, it's A to B. I don't go to car shows because if I have a day off, I'd rather be on a bike.
For sure.
I might go to a little car meet, but I'll take a baby with me. It's not the same kind of thing, and it's not something that consumes any part of my life. It's just something I have. If I got to be in a car, I want it to be the car I want.
Exactly.
But motorcycle riding is what I do when I have any time, any time to myself. I take days off work to do it. I plan trips around it. You get into people get into their fights with their significant others. So you could get there and be on it. That's what it should be, because you should want to be on it. But you're truly like, I don't want to say you're a biker because it's a horrible thing to say, but like you truly are like you plan your life around your riding and your trips.
Yeah. 100%,
there's not a lot of people who can do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I conditioned my wife before I met her that way, because I was, I think I took my very first semi cross country trip the year I met her, and I was hooked in, and I had already kind of like, look, like I'm doing this every year. It's, don't get me wrong, it's definitely been complicated trying to figure out the compromise between my obsession for traveling on motorcycles and riding places, and not just getting the time to go be with my wife and do something that she wants to do, but to actually be there present mentally. Because I have a tendency to being self-employed, like I never clock out. So I go home with work all night, and it sits on my head. And when I go on a trip, I feel like, oh shit, like I don't have anything to do. Well, let me think of all these things I need to do. And then I'm not there present with my wife. And so, small baby steps for her. So she's been a trooper though. Trust me, my career wouldn't have gone the way it's gone over the last 8 years had I not met her. She alleviated a lot of things that you can see as fun in life or roadblocks. Yeah. And
well, it's amazing that you have somebody who supports you and supports all the trips you take and the podcast. Like right now, you're not at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're in your studio. So she supports all that and she's cool with it. Like there's not a lot of women who are going to support that kind of lifestyle from their guy. Your kids are older, so that definitely helps a lot. But like more power to you for that. And like you said, it's because you were like that when you met her. So you are the person you are, like I hear these stories all the time. You'll see a guy and like he'll talk to me. It's like, oh, I used to have a bike, then I got married and I had kids and I sold it. I'm like, how does that make like it doesn't even process?
Yeah, unless it's not a financial situation where you had to sell it to cover something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Like it just doesn't. I ride my bike less, but I still want to ride it just as much as I ever did, more now than ever before. And I'm still obsessed and love everything about bikes. I ride less, but as they get older, I'll ride more. Like I will never not own a motorcycle. Yeah, it's like it's the best. I don't say it's the best part of my life, but you know what I mean. Like outside, family and my business, it's the best part of my life, hands down. And it's all my friends. All my friends are surrounded by my friends group, the people I know across the country. It's all around motorcycles.
Yeah,
sure. It's the same with you. Like everything you do is surrounding and. Every piece of clothing I have, like everything is about motorcycles, and I just purely love it. It really gives me as much joy as anything else in life. Yeah, being on the bike, and it just maybe it's not joy, peace. Maybe peace is the best. It gives you so much peace. So like being on the bike, doing a trip, like look in the mirror, look around you, and all your best friends are there with you, and you're on the road. Like there's no better feeling than that.
I think what it really gives a lot of people is a sense of purpose to do something, or it gives them I don't know the right word. I feel like purpose is the right word, but it's.
I know what you mean. It's not purpose, but I know what you're trying to say.
It's like like all those people that are like, they don't have a hobby. They don't have a group. They don't have a thing. They don't have something to occupy their mind other than family and work. And for me, I feel like the road trips, I feel like it's an important thing to have your own identity in your relationship and not completely meld both of you, the husband and wife's life together to where there is no separation, because you can smother each other quickly. And I feel like having your own identity outside of the household helps. I think it just helps keep you like lively in a sense, you know.
I've recently had this conversation with a few people, mostly Softail George, but like, cause up here, cause we're in the middle of winter. So our bikes have been away for a while, and we've had lockdown for the last 2 years. You know, we were still locked. Now it's finally opening up but we've had a tough lockdown up here. But what we, both of us, miss the most is time with your friends, time away, time on a bike. I miss a bike trip more than I miss anything else. Like it's truly that, and time with my friends, because my work life is good. My home life is incredible. I have so much love. I'm so happy, but I don't have anything else. I miss the time with my friends. I miss the time on my bike. I miss that outlet. You know, you need, besides work and family, you need an outlet for like joy and for peace and for like, you know, I need to laugh with my friends. I don't have that. And it's been really, really hard not to have that part of my life. That's been such a big part of my life for, you know, the 10 years since I've been, you know, riding with all my friends.
Yeah.
And for people who I look at, you know, somebody, let's say I look at just a regular guy, you know, I use my brother as an example. He's a regular guy. He has his family, he has his wife, he has some friends, and that's his whole life. But where's the hobby that brings you the passion? Where's the passion in your life?
He might have like a Wednesday night trivia night every week where he gets to go out for 2 hours and have
he might. He plays poker online, and that's his vice.
Yeah.
He plays poker or chess or something. But like you need that outlet. Yeah. You need that place, that thing that's not work and it's not your family, that gives you just happiness. Like, you know, when you're sitting on your bike and you're riding and you look at the sunset, or you look far and you can see as far as you can see, and you have that moment of peace. It's like emotional. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know you've seen that a million times, as we all have. Like there's no better, like I constantly, I'm in that feeling, and I'm like, this is why I ride a motorcycle. This is why I work so hard. This is why, you know, this is what life is about. Like this is the meaning of life. It sounds really fucking cheesy for me to say it, but that's how you feel in that moment. This is why I'm put on the planet, like for this feeling, for this moment right now. And it's like out of a picture. It's like you want to take a picture of that, what you're seeing, and keep that emotion forever. But until you've done it and done the trips and ridden the bike and had that feeling, which we've all had, you'll never get it. But once you have it once, how could you ever not do it? You know, how could you not want to chase that feeling? Like, we're all chasing that feeling again, that ride, that 2 seconds on it. You know, you do a 20-hour road trip, and 19 hours of it is shit, but 1 hour is really good, and 1 minute is just the best moment of your life. Yeah. You know, chasing that.
I love the feeling of being out on the road and missing my wife and missing my life. And I always come home with a greater appreciation for everything that's in my life. And so, and I think that I have somewhat of an unhealthy balance with that, or relationship with that concept, because sometimes like I have a tendency to neglect everything in my life prior to a trip, because I'm putting the trip on a pedestal. And then when I'm on it, when the trip's halfway done, then everything else sinks back in. Reality does. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't really, I've only been gone a week, but I feel like I haven't hung out with my wife in a month, you know, or with my kids, or, you know, anything else. So it's not the most healthy thing in the world, but it's a fucking amazing feeling when you're out there on the road and you get that titty pic or something like that from your old lady. You're like, God damn, I can't wait to get home. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's things about it that are the shit.
But this conversation is why we're worried that the scene gets diluted with show bikes. Yeah. Because they won't have this part. We took a style of bike, because it is a style of bike, a genre, and a scene, and it revolves around riding, and it revolves around that feeling and being on a bike. And then these guys are coming in it. And that's why I say, like, when, you know, these big wheel shops build a beautiful bike, but you can always tell it was built by a big wheel shop. I can usually tell. I'm sure you can too. They missed the point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because your beautiful bike should be beautiful, But if a month or two later, it should be beat up. You know, the motor should be dirty. It should, you know, have oil all over the back because they changed that. Like, that's how it should. Your back wheel should be covered in grease.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point, because you're getting the best out of it. So you're building the bike you love and you're riding the bike you love.
Yeah.
You know, but you're, you know, this is two big wheel guys talking who took our big wheels cross country. And not many people were doing that. Nobody was doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I never cared about my big wheel, how clean it was. It was destroyed by the end of every summer. The big detail on it over the winter, who cares? Yeah. You know, but I still wanted to ride it. And I rode every bike I ever built. You know, with my bobber, I always rode them, you know, but, because that was the best part of it. You know, when I came from a car scene where you built a car and you always rode like shit afterwards, never as good as stock. Yeah. To a bike scene where you build a bike, and most of the bikes I built rode worse than stock. But this is the first bike that I built that just rides so good. Yeah. You know, so how could you not want to be on it? How could you not want to ride it? You know, put down mileage. And who cares if you chip your paint? Who cares if, you know, you have nicks here, if your carbon is not clean, if it, you know, your motor is all messy, you have oil all over your back. Who cares? It's the point.
It 100% is. And I think that, with a lot of the big wheel shops coming into it, I think, you know, to kind of turn the page a little bit, what it is with those guys, equally, if you asked a chopper guy, a guy that builds choppers, to build a performance bagger, the challenge in it is for them to figure out how to use their vision and ideas to make this thing cool in this world. Because a lot of the things don't transfer over. Like, you know, you might be, you know, good at stretching tanks. Well, we don't really stretch tanks in this, so now you should be able to knee cut them, you know, or do something else with it. You have to find ways to apply your skills in the new style that people want to see. You know what I mean? And I don't like when people say, like, I build what I want to build. No. You everybody builds what they think everybody's going to like. That's the truth about it, right? Because if there's a couple bikes out there where dudes just build what they want. My friend, he has the FXR that's like a high, what's his name? Josh Berkeley, I think his name is. JC Cycles. He built the FXR with like the orange tank and the baby blue fairing, and it's de-raked up in the air. And it's fucking sick, but it's because I know him and I know it's his style, and he don't give a fuck, and that works. But I think some of us, you know, we always buy the parts that look cool because we saw them on someone else's bike. You know what I'm saying? You know, we I don't know. I feel like what some of the big wheel shops just need to do is kind of like we were saying with the paint work earlier. It's like you got to find a way to save more with less, and that's what a performance bagger is. It's trimming all the fat that does not necessarily add any value to the bike's rideability, or aesthetically it doesn't really do anything either because it kind of looks out of place in some aspects. So, you know, but there's still a lot of...
seems to be doing it. They seem to be doing it with paint. They're like paint in wild colors, because besides that's
a trend right now. Paint. Yeah. Right now, I mean, you see, my machinist had the Purple Bike Award for the Hardcore Cycle Show. So he made an award for the purple bike because everybody's painting purple bikes right now. There's like a ton of them. Okay. And I'm guilty as well, but everybody's been hitting me up like, oh, you're another one of the purple bikes. I'm like, look, I've always had an affinity for purple. It's always been my thing. But yes, this is the first time I've had an actual purple bike. So I will take that jab. But, you know, things are trendy. You know what I mean? Like, there was one time in the last couple of years where every fucking week I was painting a gold paint job, whether it's on a helmet or a bike, you know, and it's just kind of like people go through these waves of like this shit, because you got to think paint's very expensive. So most people will pick something that they've seen already because they know they're not going down a path of something they're not going to like. They've already seen it done, right? Finding those colors that are not used very, very often is kind of difficult, because you're seeing a swatch that's like 3/4 of an inch tall and an inch wide. And then it looks good on that swatch, but then you paint a whole bike, like, man, that just doesn't fucking go. And like, well, that paint was $3,000. You know what I mean?
So you think paint on these bikes is a trend?
Yeah, for sure. Not
you think that's
as a whole, not as a whole, like paint itself, but colors are like right now. Last couple of years, the whole Miami kind of turquoise, pink, purple, magenta. That's kind of been a popular color scheme that I think was kind of made popular through the mullet, the pit vipers, and that whole kind of culture that kind of went around that. You know what I'm saying?
That 80s theme.
Yeah, it's like it's all kind of wrapped in it.
Neon, yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of like it and embrace it because it makes motorcycling fun and lighthearted and not so like tough guy. Like I got my Grim Reaper on the side of the tank and my bike's blacked out because I don't want the cops to know which bike's mine. Well, we don't know which one's yours either, buddy. So it's a weird one. Yeah. You know, like.
But you see, the flip side is I get a lot of slack for not having a painted bike, and you get the guys who think a build isn't a build because it's not painted. Yeah. You know, one of the bikes in my top 10 list, a couple of them didn't have paint on them. You know, we're all carbon. People were like, you know, and like people were talking shit saying, well, it didn't even have paint. No, it didn't have paint. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, it's now to the point where the bikes need to have paint in order to be considered like a top tier bike. And I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it is a hard question for you to answer because you have skin in the game. So
I would say it like this. No matter what you do to a bike, if it's a solid color like black, it's gonna fall a little bit short because there's not an, you know, it. To me, I don't mind a solid color as long as it didn't come from the factory that way. Does that make sense? If you're trying to be like a badass build, like I'm unveiling my build, like, you know, you're unveiling some parts you put on your bike, bro. You know what I mean? But I agree that if you want to take home a trophy, you need paint. I agree. You're not going to take home a trophy with factory paint. But at the same time, I don't think you need to have paint to have a top tier bike. Oh, for sure. No,
you know, and I think that these days that people are confusing. So when I did my top 10 list, there was let's say there's a friend of ours we know who likes to go online and bash us. So he did a whole,
the same one,
you know, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he did a whole episode bashing my top 10 list.
Oh, well, I'm glad you could make content for him. So
yeah, exactly. So, and when I was listening and he was talking to his buddy, who I was a little upset because his buddy is a guy who was really nice to me and he talked a bit of shit. I was upset about that. It wasn't deserved, you know? And then they were saying, you know, one of these bikes didn't even have any paint on it and blah, blah, blah. It didn't deserve to be on the list. And then they were naming off a couple bikes that they love that should have been on their list. But like the bikes they named off were beautiful bikes. But the biggest thing of what they had was paint. They had paint and factory brakes, you know, and some factory wheels. Well, you can't, just because you have paint doesn't make it a top tier bike. You know what I mean? It's got to have the whole thing. And just because, and like you said, a bike can be a top tier bike if it's got a crazy one color paint job.
It has to be crazy. It just has to be flowing and nice. And
it's got to be something. Yeah. If it's got a full carbon body, great. I mean, there's something there. Look at Mason Mary, that electric blue bike he has. It's stunning. Yep. You know what I mean? Everybody knows the bike, solid color paint job, but it's got that electric blue paint and it pops so much. It looks so good. And it's just blue paint. You know, I don't think Justin's painting his bike. He's got that color. He's doing it.
Yeah. No, it's going to be solid. You know, it to me, it always depends, right? Because I do agree that a good, well thought out build does not have to have wild paint. It doesn't even have to necessarily have anything like, it could be a solid color for sure. I usually tell people that like your bike's going to get noticed more if it has paint.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. And I don't think this is the wrong way. I feel bad saying this because
no,
you
I understand.
And Poland and Jeremy are good friends of mine, and you guys do fantastic work. And I love custom paint. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. You know, nothing against that. I'm just, I guess I'm defending all bikes is what I'm defending and saying the statement that like the average, yeah, exactly. Or the average Joe who can't afford paint. There's somebody who literally just says, I don't want to paint my bike. I'm happy with my black paint. Yeah, of course. Like I could have everything in the world done to my bike, which I have, but it's solid color. It's all carbon fiber. I mean, now it's half blue, but it's solid carbon fiber. I know I'm not going to win a show. There's no way I'm going to win a show next to a thing. I don't care because I don't really care.
Well, I think that would really matter too. Like if if you were trying to do a show with the thing and that dude was mad because the wild paint job bike won over the solid color bike, which is also kind of like the same thing that you're saying, where they were mad because the wild paint job bikes didn't place on your list. The thing about your list is like, that's your opinion.
It's my list. Yeah. My opinion.
So it's your list. It's not like some public generated like thing. And it's all about like you promoting the bikes that caught your eye as someone that sees a lot of these bikes every day. And these are the ones that kind of resonate with you. Well,
that's what I said to people who didn't agree with my list. I'm like, it's my list. Like I picked the bikes that I thought, and I look at originality. Like I picked Speakings as the best bike of the year. And a lot of people didn't agree with me, but you know what? He did something that in my opinion was out of the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't follow the norms that
he built his own thing.
Of us.
Yeah. And then he rode the Sturgis.
And he rode the shit and he put that tour pack right behind him and he beats up. And I think the bike is beautiful. I've seen it in person. And, he didn't look at our scene and build a version of our scene. He looked at the bike and he built what he wanted to build out of his bike. And I respected that. And if you look at the list, it was probably the most out of the box one in the list.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought he deserved number one. And like, even he didn't think he deserved it. And I'm not saying it's the baddest bike around. It just, for me, it was just the most different out of everybody that everybody put in the scene last year. And it didn't have the baddest parts. It didn't have an inverted front end. It didn't have, but it's always about originality for me. And like, somebody could build a bike that's whatever. But for me, I think anytime I see a bike that's different, it really resonates with me. Just because like I said, 90% of us are riding, we have the same formula.
Yeah.
Paint sets us apart, but the rest of it's usually the same formula. So as soon as somebody does a bike that's really just kind of like, wow, that's not something I expected to see, or that's really out of the box, I'm very impressed by that. We did a full open primary on a performance bike. You don't see that. You know what I mean? Like, he put chopper shit into a performance bagger.
That's what I said.
Which is really cool.
That's what I was saying about how when you're not used to building these bikes, you come from a different area. You have to come at it with your own take on how this should look, and not like get in the rabbit hole what everybody else is doing and build another bike that looks like everybody else's. And one of the things I was going to talk about is kind of on the same note, is about like we've gotten more parts than ever now in our industry, more options now. And what I'm about to say is not necessarily talking shit, but it's more of like poking fun a little bit. But the whole everybody, the Baja lights thing just went went wild. You know what I'm saying?
Wild.
And don't get me wrong, they look sick. I hate riding in front of those motherfuckers. But before long, it just looks like there's such a standout item on the bike, right? It's not like a Clockworks windshield where it's nice, it's clean, it blends in. These things are fucking huge and they're bright and they draw attention. And I don't get me wrong, I like them. I think they look cool as shit, but it quickly became the norm. Like everybody had
quickly became one of the things you have to have.
It was part of the kit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It absolutely became part of the kit. Yeah, 100%. And it's a very expensive part of the kit.
Yeah.
You're spending $1,700, $1,800 on lights, on front lights. That's big money.
Way more than headlights. Big Will Bagger dudes ever did, that's for sure.
100%. And now everybody threw on the S1 turn signals, right?
Yeah.
The kit from Full Throttle, Full Grip.
He's
Grip.
From here,
Steve, right?
Steve Salmon, yeah.
Yeah, did you put them on?
No, I mean, I have a light sponsor so I can't really,
okay, that's true. But so I threw them on and I paid for mine. Steve is a nice guy. He had issues with, I know people are waiting for their lights, but just bear with him. He's a nice guy. He's having, startup issues, but it's a sick mod. Like I would hate to be in the front of my bike right now.
Yeah.
With the LP6s and the S1s on it. Forget it. I don't ride at night because I can't see. I'm old and blind. So like, I don't have to worry. But when I ride with my headlights on during the day, people flash me. Sun out, middle of the day, I get cars in the opposite direction flashing me. That says a lot. But yeah, it became part of the kit. As soon as something comes out and it's cool and a handful of the main bikes do it, everybody follows suit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool trend. Look,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, when the first people did it, Suicide Machine.
Yep.
Right? SMC, I think.
SMC. Yeah.
So those, they put it on that matte black bike. And when they did it, they blew us out of the wire.
Yeah. And that was a SEMA bike, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah. It wasn't for...
it was either SEMA or...
Born Free. It was a Born Free bike.
That's right. It was a Born Free bike in 19...
Born Free, and, that was the year they came out. San Diego Customs came out. There was like a handful of just insanely nice bikes.
Yeah.
And they put those on the bike, and everybody just tripped out. And then, Kevin started making the bracket. Now a few other people make that bracket. And I mean, I love it. Everybody I know loves it. When Softail George wants to put it on his Softail, it made a dent because he doesn't put any money into that bike. But it has become part of the trend. And it's funny how when something comes out, people think, it has to be on their bike. I mean, nothing has to be on their bike. And there's a new lights out that are really nice now. Keegan put it on his bike. No, you saw that? A few guys have put it on their bike. It's similar to Baja lights. It's a different brand.
Well, Electric has one that has like the yellow and the silver. But then someone else came out with one recently that does have like a kind of a more aggressive kind of off-road look, but it's not. The only reason it's not a Baja, but one of our homies, I forgot what his name. I think the dude out of
Keegan, the matte black Road Glide.
So it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never jumped on the wagon for the Baja lights because of when you travel a lot, like bugs. It's already a bitch cleaning bugs off your bike whenever you go through some of the perfect riding scenes in life. They usually come with... They don't
clean well.
So you got all these little holes, and then you're trying to go take it to Born Free or Sturgis, and you're sitting there.
And you have the plate behind it. Jeremy, Lucky Strike, everybody runs his plate, and then that's glued on, and you're always trying to get it. It's got little grills in it. The sides are open. It's not a perfect fit, but it's a cool look. But it's not. It's definitely not something that if you're putting down a lot of mileage that you might want, because riding at night is. Have you ridden in front of one of those bikes? Yeah.
We've had some of the guys in our group on our big trips. One of our dudes, Jacob, had one on his Softail. It's fucking it's ridiculous for sure.
It's blinding.
Yeah,
it's blinding. Yeah, they're not made for the front of these bikes, but they look cool.
But in respect, so I get it, because it was like one of the few options that really gave a completely different look to the front of the bike, and so it gave people the option to have something just completely unique, and everything unique becomes what we're talking about now. Becomes the norm.
It's not unique anymore.
And but I think I think what hopefully happens more, and I think it's for sure happening, is more of these companies that do manufacture parts are looking outside of what has been the norm in the past. Where obviously with all the racing going on, I know that we're all going to get better products and more products that uphold more over time. But
so this is a good segue into talking about the Harley releases.
Yeah, for sure. So
how do you feel about those ST? Is that the model, the ST?
As far as the Road Glide and Street Glide, I mean, I think it's cool. I already have a 131 equipped Road Glide, so it doesn't really pique my interest. But the Lowrider ST, man, I'm for sure going to get one. Probably, I'm waiting for all the hype to die down this year. I'll probably get one at the end of the year or beginning of next year, and just to have one. I think they look good, and I think they're the perfect blend of a smaller bike and still have all the protection you need on the highway plus some bags. So it's just an exciting new
bagger.
Well, the bagger situation is complicated. So I turned 40 this year. So this year, September.
Okay.
So this year for me, I'm still trying to do 25,000 miles on bikes. I'm still trying to do 50, 60 podcasts. I'm still trying to paint, 50 helmets. But I'm also trying to solve a lot of the things that I've neglected in my life, including like my teeth situation. Taxes have been another one where I've been in a point where I'm trying to do them. I don't really understand it like very well. Trying to find the right CPA, trying to find the right accountant to figure out all my past shit. And so my bagger might be the get me back tax even money in life. You know what I mean? So when I'm going to ride it for sure until after Sturgis, probably well into like October and November, but it probably will go up for sale at that point in time. And then I'm hoping that with all the things I'm going to try to fix and get square with my taxes, there's still money left over that I can put down on another bike. So, and then the T-Sport, the goal is to have an ST and another bagger, but both of them be paid for in some way. Because right now I'm paid for.
Have you ever had a conversation with Harley Davidson?
No, I don't know how to.
Okay.
Like I don't know how to talk to them in a way where I don't know.
Do you think they're on your radar? Do you think?
Oh yeah, they know
radar.
Yeah, for sure. I know that they are.
Well, they're mad about you leaking pictures, but besides that, do you think they know?
I don't know. I mean, I for sure know that they're on my radar about the pictures, but I think that they have marketing teams that kind of scour the internet to find out what's what and who's who and everything. And I don't feel like I'd ever be a fit for them in the way that they need people to be. Like when they did all this YouTuber stuff and they brought all the YouTubers out to go ride the new STs on the track with the Wymans and stuff like that, they would never ask me to do that. You know what I mean? The YouTube people put out content that is
biased.
It's they're not polarizing enough. They're not going to really like. They're pay to play a lot of. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way.
So I didn't watch any of those videos, but these YouTubers, they're bringing out just motorcycle YouTuber guys. They're not bringing out Harley. Is there any Harley genre, like Harley dedicated YouTubers out there?
There's 100 of them for sure, but I feel like what's going on with a lot of
following.
YouTube's I mean decent compared. I mean, my YouTube is shit. You know, like I don't do all the thumbnails and all the stuff that they want you to do to make your videos more whatever. But I also don't like the YouTube community and how they say the worst things they can think of. Like they're not really like how I said I like
Facebook.
Yeah, it's like Facebook, right? Like I don't really dig that shit. But no, I mean I feel like I'll put it like this. I can't watch a lot of motorcyclist YouTubers, not because their content's not good. It's just that I'm a little bit too. I've been in this industry too long, and it seems
you know too much.
Yeah, it know too much. It seems like what you would want if you just got your bike last month, and you'd fall into those traps. And so I feel like those guys are a great place to get your toes wet in the culture of Harley Davidson, but. And I feel like our podcast is a little bit more real, and it's not for everybody. Like, and I'm not trying to make it for everybody. I'm trying to make it for the people that like this type of shit.
But how do you think? Like, so every year Harley gives out a handful of bikes for guys to build them for Born Free, right? They just gave out a bunch of bikes, and it's usually the same guys who get them. Is that based on a relationship?
I don't know, man. This is a touchy subject for me.
I'm saying this. I'm saying this selfishly because when the new monoshock bagger comes out, I'll probably get one, whether I pay for it or not. Ideally, I'd like Holly to call me up and say you have a big following performance baggers, and we'd like to help you get into one. Yeah, it'll never happen. Yeah, for sure. But I'll try.
Well, I mean, I don't mean that like for sure for you, but no, it's a tough one.
It won't. Yeah, I'm sure it won't happen. But I'm just, how do they pick? Like I'm saying, it's usually the same handful of people, and it's revolved around Born Free or something like that. But I'm just curious about their insight on how they pick.
It usually revolves around people out of California and brands that are very connected to those guys in California, like a HPI to San Diego Customs to
FXR. Doesn't get a bike.
They have.
I've never seen. Oh, they have? Okay.
Yeah, they have they got the Softail the first year the Softails came out. I think that they also got a bagger. They turned into that drag bagger or something last year, I believe. But and
don't get me wrong, these guys deserve.
Oh, they deserve, yeah, for sure.
Deserves it. HPAD deserves it. I'm just sometimes you'll see a smaller shop that get it and you're raising an eyebrow, or like, well, I'm just always curious about who and how.
Yeah.
And I think it's for sure. I think it's relationship.
Yeah.
It's all relationship. I could say that I know somebody who just got a bike and they're doing a build, and I said, how did that happen? It's like, I don't know. They just called me up.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
See that right there. I don't know. Like for me, this whole conversation has been something that I've been trying to work on myself, of feeling like I deserve something in my mind, but being the guy that goes out and says like, you know what, I deserve that opportunity. It's just not a good look for me. You know what I mean? I feel like it becomes like
you have a podcast that literally promotes a brand in a community. It's a successful podcast. It's like you said, the number one in the Harley Davidson. And I'm not saying you deserve anything. Nobody deserves anything, right? Let's take that off the table. But you deserve Harley to acknowledge the work you've done.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you want a bike, get it through us, through dealer, we'll give you cost. But just something, I don't know, a thank you. Well, I don't know. I think we're in the same category. We promote something. We're in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
We love these bikes. We get nothing in return. The bikes suck until you put a ton of money into them, and they could kill us at any point in any day. It's a totally abusive relationship.
Well, I think that it's hard for people at the motor company to get into my podcast because they're 3 and 4 hours long at times. And sometimes the gold within that can be 5-10 minute conversations. And I don't have the time to make the clips on YouTube of those conversations, which I'm planning to get to sooner or later. And I think once I do that, I'll get more eyes on what we do. But yeah, so I do agree with you 100%, but just for my mental health, I went through the last 8 months since Sturgis, feeling like I deserve something from somebody. I don't know who, I don't know what, but what the fuck, you know what I mean? And
it's a bad place to be mentally.
It's a bad place to be mentally. And I felt like I deserved something from photography, and I wasn't getting it from there. I feel like opportunities continue to pass me by. I feel like all that stuff you just said, but I feel, even I just kind of voiced it on here, when I think about that too much, it puts me in a bad place mentally, and I start seeing things online that piss me off and make my day bad. So, and it's somebody's fault.
But it's like, it's the way you have to look at it differently. So the way I look at life, nobody deserves anything, right? So if I'm out here saying, I have this, and don't take what I'm saying literally, I'm just saying it, but like, I have this page, I have 75,000 followers, it grows very quickly. Harley should look at me and give me a bike because I have a huge following that will promote the brand. And even if I pay for it, I pay retail, I'm promoting their brand. And I say, let's say time comes and I don't get it, which I won't. I'm not saying I will. I'm going to have to go to the dealer and buy it like everybody else. Yeah. I won't turn to Harley and say, I deserved it, they should have given it to me. I'll look at myself and say, I should have done a better job of making sure Harley saw me and realized that I deserve the bike, because nobody deserves anything.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there yelling and saying, oh, I deserve it, and getting mad about bullshit they have no control, no, you just didn't do a good enough job at getting what you wanted. You know what I mean? Because Harley does give out free bikes.
Yeah.
If you got it, good for you. It's probably a connection. It's probably something like that, but they do it. So nobody deserves anything. So like, it's just the way you look at it. So if you're saying, the last year it was tough because you felt like you didn't get the, whatever you deserved, you kind of always have to look at yourself, say, well, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What could I have done better so that next year, like you're saying, if your goal is to get an ST by the end of this year, say, what can I do to make sure Harley sees me, make sure that they know I want it? You start emailing that marketing director every single day for the next year. Say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm proposing. This is what I'm going to do for you. At least you give it a shot. Doesn't work out. Okay.
Well, I feel like, what I mean? In the pursuit of that, so yeah, everything you just said is exactly the way that I have retrained. I've always felt this way, but I've veered off the path many times. Because at the same time, there are people in this industry that listen to this podcast that feel the same way I feel when it comes to Harley. Like, oh, I deserve something, or I deserve the opportunity, you know? But at the same time, the hardest part is like with YouTube, as much as I really want to create a YouTube presence other than our live podcast, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, and I haven't figured out a way to do it yet. If that makes sense, you know? And
well, if you think of the best, the YouTube you watch the most, if I think of the YouTube I watch the most, I don't watch any motorcycle stuff on YouTube, really. I watch Cruzy. But I watch Cruzy because he makes me laugh. See,
Cruzy has a good personality. He has a good crew there, and he's a good riffer. You know, like
and he doesn't give a fuck who's watching. He doesn't care if Harley's watching it, and he'll trash talk on YouTube. He'll say exactly what's on his mind, but he is funny.
Yeah. So
if I look at everything I watch on YouTube, it's always based around the person and do they make me laugh? Is it light? Do they, you know? Most stuff I watch realistically is car stuff. You know what I mean? And if you look at somebody, I don't know if you watch any car videos, any of the car vloggers, right? So the one I watch the most religiously is Doug DeMuro. I don't know if you know who he is or if you watch him. He does car reviews. He does it on his own. He's got a massive following because he's funny.
Yeah.
You know, and he does these quirky, weird car reviews. So the guys who are doing the Harley reviews and the Harley, okay, they ride a bike, they go around, they're talking about the bike and the helmet. It's not engaging.
Yeah.
It's not going to keep you watching it. It's boring. You know what I mean? If somebody's going to do a YouTube video and I got to watch you in traffic riding a bike, I'm going to turn it off.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care how you think it handles. I don't care. I want to see the bike. I want you to make me laugh, put it together, and make a couple stupid jokes. That's what's going to engage you online. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but I'm saying that's when you're saying you don't know what to do for YouTube, it's all about making people laugh, making them entertained. I think so. Or put a lot of boobs in there. Well, it's one or the other.
What originally, like, not that they got this from me at all, and that's not what I'm saying, but my friends Lance and Galen from Two Lane Life, like those guys did what I kind of dreamed about doing in that space, you know, but they also where they live and their situation in life kind of lends themselves to have better content on the road than I can create frequently here in Texas, right? But what I have that's unique to a lot of other people is I have this whole shop, and there's a big ecosystem here of different shit, from whether it's paint, wrenching on bikes, doing podcasts, bike nights, rides. Like, I have plenty of content. I just haven't figured out a way to capture it and not take away from the actual being present while you're there situation. So
I got it figured out for you, Jace. This is what you do. You hire your son to work for you. You yell at him a lot. You yell at him all the time, and you have him start building bikes next to Orange County Choppers.
I would rather my son,
shop, you yell at.
If my son can just, he's always been in the YouTube. If I can get him to like bikes and continue to pursue his ideas of doing YouTube stuff, then it would be a perfect mix. But the only thing that sucks, and I will complain about this, is here in Texas, there's not a bunch of kids coming to bike night that want to be videographers and photographers and things like that. So we don't really have, I know a lot of shops out on the West Coast, personally, good friends that have these random kids that just want to get into videography, and they come to those shops to shoot the things for them. And, it's like I would like that, but not that I don't want to pay them. It's just that, like,
if they're going to do it once or twice, and that's the end of it. They're not going to.
Well, not necessarily. A lot of them end up getting jobs at these places doing this stuff.
Shoot your own, 30-minute episode and reach out to Discovery.
I don't want to be all that. No.
You don't want to be on Discovery?
Man, I already have
crunches.
No, I have a very stacked plate as it is, and the biggest reason why I'm wanting to get the tax thing figured out is so that I can open up what I consider the floodgates of apparel from our brand. And I have everything in place as far as suppliers, things I want to do, a few designs. But, with I don't need an extra $50,000 coming into my bank account over the course of a year that I haven't learned how to deal with the taxing aspect of it. Yeah. And because I am a one-man shop, it's tough, man. Like I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, which I am, but I trying to be a painter. It's a very creative endeavor, and it's very it uses up a lot of bandwidth in your head. Trying to produce podcasts and to constantly be self-critical of yourself, put out better episodes, try to make the content better is another big bandwidth sucker out of your head. So sitting down and looking at numbers and this and that and getting kind of in a negative headspace because you're worried about money, that fucks up the creative process, right? And so, not that I'm not worried about losing anything, because it's nothing like that. Like I've got things set up to pay stuff, you know what I mean? But finding a good CPA has been my biggest problem. Finding an accountant, finding someone to help me set everything up has been a huge problem in the last couple of years. And I don't want to walk into a corporate office or like a storefront next to goddamn Papa John's to go, hey, you guys handle my taxes? Like, it just doesn't, I don't want that kind of relationship, So I don't know. It's a tough one, but yeah, there's plenty of stuff. I think that Harley, they look for the thing. YouTubers' views are right there in front of you. Their engagement's right there in front of you, and podcasts, all that stuff's in a backdoor analytics thing. And and one could definitely argue, because the numbers that we get on podcasts are nothing compared to what people get on 5-minute YouTube videos, right? It's the same reason, like when you post a 15-second reel, that thing will get 40,000 views real quick as opposed to a 1-minute reel, Yeah. The views go up, but the connection with your audience does not. So a podcast lends itself to be a lot more, your audience becomes a lot more ingrained with the world that you're promoting and what you're talking about, and therefore I feel like you can help influence people a lot more to go certain routes with the products they get on their bike, or the routes they take on trips or wanting to take trips. You know what I mean? YouTube it's quicker. Like you're not all of them. Some of them are really good. Like I said, I love Two Lane Life's videos. I find them to be very interesting and fun to watch. Steve Chamberlain's is one of my favorites as well, but we all know Steve's up and down with his. There's some other guys that do good content, but it's tough, man, because at first it's a lot of work to edit videos, and you're pumping them out, and the amount of time versus the amount of money you get, it sucks, because also we in our industry, we don't have a lot of the brands don't want to pay anybody for anything. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to pay for sponsorships. And when your whole like business is about a media outlet and you're trying to find sponsors and they want to pay for things with like rotors and shit, like that doesn't, like, yeah, I do need some rotors for the bike, but I also need the money to make the content that you need me to make on these rotors. So, you used to give these things to magazines for free and wait 8 months to a year for a review and still buy ad space in the magazine. So why is it complicated here? You know what I mean? And so I've dealt with some the craziest thing is, like, I now have, every month we're consistently growing as far as listenership and things like that. But you constantly feel like, why is it getting harder to get sponsors? Why is it getting harder to get guests on? It actually is harder to get guests on now because I think the whole space is kind of flooded with podcasters now. You know what I mean? And nobody knows. But you don't
do a lot of these Zoom podcasts.
I don't, because I feel like they're doing themselves a disjustice by not flying here to do a podcast.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, we're in Dallas. You can get a flight here, a nice, comfortable flight for less than $300 round trip from anywhere in this country. $300, right? The live podcast means that you can come on here and bring your products and talk about them live, video and everything. And then the audio extraction onto the audio places, like when we did that Big Bear podcast a long time ago, right? It was a 45-minute podcast that everybody thought that Homeboy staged the phone call in or whatever. Regardless if he did or not, I don't think he did. I was there, obviously. He sold 30 sets of front and rear Olin suspension on that podcast with 300 listens.
Wow.
That's a lot of fucking money.
It's huge. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why we're the number one offer code for Lexin FASTLIFE. Get yourself 15% off. There's a reason, because people come on here and they buy shit.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people that's come on this podcast that have brands that now those brands have an audience, and the way that we humanize these brands is what gives them like, I can't take full credit in it, but it's definitely helped guys like My Machinist. It's definitely helped guys like Insta Having Kyle. It's definitely helped everybody that I've had on this podcast as much as they've helped me by being on the podcast to give me content. So when I feel like if so-and-so exhaust system company wants to come on here and use essentially this free audience that I created over the last 5 years and give you the opportunity to technically promote your brand, your business, your event, all that stuff for free, other than your expenses to get here. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. Yeah.
If we do the Zoom, like, trust me, the Zoom is like, you're in Canada. It's just not going to happen that easy, right? If you were here, it'd be a different podcast. It'd be a different vibe in the studio. We're maybe having a beer or drinking a little bit of some Moscato or some shit, you know. Just, it's a different atmosphere and a different vibe.
I hear what you're saying.
And we built the studio to create it.
You know what's crazy is I find you were talking about money and sponsors and stuff like that, and I monetized this year. It's the first year I actually told people I don't want parts. I'm done with the parts. And it's funny because the amount of money that I asked for is so small compared to what people were paying for ads in magazines. If you look at it, you know, 10 years ago, what they were paying for ads in magazines, the numbers were huge, you know, and I'm charging a fraction of that to sponsors, like a fraction. It's exponential what they were charging 10 years ago. And people have a hard time paying for stuff now, because everybody thinks everything is free now. Like social media is free. You know what I mean? You have a page. So why am I gonna? And I'm not saying I had a hard time. I'm lucky, and everybody was super cool with me, and a lot of people wanted to sponsor the page and stuff, which was really cool. But like, it's amazing how everything has changed when it comes to that. You know, like people just don't think they should be paying for content. You know, like your podcast, like. Yeah, let's say somebody you've never heard of wants to come on the podcast and say, you want to come on? Sure, but I'm going to charge you, which I know you wouldn't and you don't, but I mean, you should be able to, which you can.
Yeah.
But like, it's crazy what we give away for free every day.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
I try not to lose sight. People think it's okay. Yeah, I try not to lose sight the fact that, you know, if you build it, they will come. And don't get me wrong, like the podcast, you know, it does well now. It's not enough to take it to where I want to take it, and it's not meaning that I need that money from my pockets to actually hire somebody to work here on the podcast. That would be an amazing thing and help the content so much more. But
producer,
the only thing that we can really figure out to do is to put more content behind a paywall, which is on Patreon. Right. So we've been doing that. We've been, I'm trying to get on a regular schedule of posting some type of Patreon episodes. And once we get it all figured out, we're going to make it to where it's a tier on there where maybe $1 a month that supports the podcast, but $5 a month gets you all the other podcasts. And it's only because
I see that with comedians now.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's doing that. It's like,
have that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to use the podcast to talk about money and stuff like that, but I'm fortunate. It's really, everything's going really well with the podcast right now, and I would like to be able to convince more of these higher profile guests to want to make the trip here to promote their brands, to promote their products, and I also want to try to make it as beneficial as possible for anybody that makes the effort to come here. You know. When someone's coming here, like I'm usually picking them up at the airport. I'm stocking the fridge with beer and whiskey and whatever they need. Hey, what do you like to drink? Do you not drink? Well, what kind of water? Do you like soda? You want some energy drinks? Like I spend a whole day running around preparing the shop for essentially an hour to a 3-hour podcast, taking them to lunch, doing all this shit. Like all that's costs a lot of money, and it's time off work and things like that. So it's that's why I want more time to spend on the podcast, and for me to do that, I got to figure out a better way to seamlessly bring in more sponsors or create more content on Patreon or whatever. But I'm still fortunate as hell from what the listenership that we have and the support we have and things like that. And, you know,
it's still growing all the time, growing every year.
Yeah. It grows. I mean, last 2 months have been slow because of just all the things I've had going to New York, lots of deadlines to get things done. So I haven't had a chance to really kind of break out and go get guests. But we still had 2 of the highest months the last 2 months with listenership. And then in December, we actually hit our highest downloads ever in a month. And so that's good. And so, yeah, it's constantly in the upper tier of where we want to be and continue to push. But we're also, you know, getting to a point where we have to diversify a little bit, you know, because I'm definitely more heavily in the performance motorcycle section of things. Not that we don't bring chopper guys on and things like that, but I need to bring more. I need to bring more people from different areas of motorcycling on within the Harley Davidson kind of world to kind of, you know, just help people find great content for motorcycling and help make this content better by having more ears on it that aren't all kind of drinking the same Kool-Aid, if you will. You know what I mean?
But like back to the Harley thing, like it would be so amazing if you had people from Harley on your show to talk about the motor code, to talk about their processes and this and that. Like that would be, you probably get huge.
I've had one guy on here from the motor company. He actually used to live here during COVID. There was he was the head of the marketing department, or he was up there. Obviously not, he wasn't running the marketing department, but he was up there. And they threatened to fire him if I didn't pull down the part of the podcast where he said, not him, but someone else in the podcast said gay. Like, oh, that's gay. And they threatened to fire him if I didn't pull it down.
Was he on alone?
Was what? No, he was on with another friend of ours.
Okay. I don't know if I heard that one.
It's kind of a sleeper because he didn't necessarily have like a big name that people know. But he was in, you know, I didn't put it like Harley Davidson employee Patrick. You know what I mean? Okay. So it's, you know, I didn't play the clickbait kind of thing. It's just, hey, look, if you listen on the podcast, there's a lot of great podcasts that don't have headline names on it that people probably skip over. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like I said, that was also in a very heavy political climate with a lot of Me Too shit and fucking all that stuff. So I've cleaned up a couple words that we use on the podcast, but it still slips here and there. You know what I mean? But
depends on your level of alcohol.
I don't want this to be.
It's a motorcycle podcast.
Yeah, I want it to be like we're hanging out in a garage talking about whatever's going on we saw on social media, or your bike build, or you seen these new parts, or what do you think about this?
You can't be offended by, like, if you're listening to a motorcycle podcast and you're offended by a couple of stupid words because you said gay or you said retarded or something like that. Yeah. Like, fuck off. Like, I mean, you shouldn't be on a motorcycle. Like, you're way too soft to be like, I mean, this generation sucks, right?
Dude, so check this out. You know, Adam Sandoval, big YouTuber, he had, you know, we do our camp out at his place. And so I have a picture of Justin and his wife that we're trying to use it a lot for a lot of the promotions of it. And it's him on his FXR doing a burnout while his wife is pouring a bottle of like, you know, some white Zinfandel or something in his mouth, right?
Yeah, I know the picture. Yeah.
I posted on my Instagram page. Everybody's like, fuck yeah, I can't wait. FLC 5 is going down. Adam Sandoval posted. And man, the comments on that shit is fucking retarded. Like, people are like, oh, just promoting drinking and riding. It's like, no, dude, it's not. Like, obviously, the whole background is not like him going down the highway.
He's in a campground.
Yeah. And so, to me, I just, that shit just drives me nuts. And I feel like I don't want to ever curate who I am to fit that audience. You know what I mean? And that's a big YouTube audience. So this was on Instagram where I saw these comments. But when you go to YouTube, people on there are just, I got a fucking opinion about that one thing you said on this podcast.
Facebook. Like, there's a performance bagger group on Facebook that has a lot of followers. I don't read it. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
Like, everybody's got an opinion and everybody's got to trash everybody. Like, I don't know. I don't know why everybody thinks their opinion matters.
I feel like the only thing people should say is if it's dope, and if they don't like it, then just don't say anything.
There's always one like that. That's what I say. There's always, when I put a post up, I think I did it during my top 10 list, and I don't remember. There was one not too long ago, and I did it, and the guy just trashed the bike. And I'll always write the same thing. I'll always say, "There's always one, and this time you're it. Good job, man." Like, I always write that because there's always got to be that guy with a negative comment. Like, who cares? Nobody gives a fuck what you have to say. If you don't like it, just move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because why do people feel the need to go online or to talk shit about somebody else's, like, these are motorcycles, somebody else's bike? Why do you think anybody needs to hear what you have to say?
I think what the problem is they don't have a group of friends to go talk shit behind everybody's back like we do.
Maybe I guess
I'll keep all those negative comments, and then I'll let them go at bike night around my close friends.
But the negative comments always come from jealousy. Because if you're not jealous of what you're looking at, why are you even making the comment? Who cares? You have to care enough to make a comment.
Yeah.
So, which is like, the same thing with our buddy in California. Like, you have to care enough to talk shit about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Who has the energy for the negative bullshit? I have too much going on in my life. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
So,
the negativity stuff, like if you start focusing on all that, you'll quickly start to change who you are to fit the needs of a few people that have some bad, opinions about you. And that always will be stuck in the back of your head when you're trying to do your thing. And I mean, I'd be lying if the shit hasn't affected me at some points in time, but it's like, I know it. Like, I know that, like, these things exist, so don't let it get to you. It's like a constant reminder, if you will. But
you need to learn how to let that kind of shit go. You know what I mean? Like, you need to learn how to maybe get out of your own head. Like, you got to focus on what's important. What's not important is all this other bullshit. You know what I mean?
That's been a thing for me with this podcast. When I regularly see a lot of my friends, then I have a different attitude on these podcasts. But when because I'm alone at the shop all day long, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm alone all day long, and then every once in a while I take a little break, or I go do something, or someone messages me on Instagram and I see something, and that stews in my head or some shit like that, and then I come and do a podcast, and that negativity spills out of my mouth in a podcast with somebody, as opposed to when I'm around other people, I'm absorbing like other people's lives a little bit more in person, things like that. And then I do a podcast. It's a much different perspective and outlook, and you get a different vibe, a different version of me, if you will. And like I said, I want to be the best I can possibly be at doing this stuff, whether it's painting or podcasting or photography or whatever the fuck I'm doing. I want to be the best at it, or the best me at it, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as you should be. Anything you do, you should do it as good as you can, like best as you can. Make as much out of it as you can, make as much money as you can. Or don't bother doing it.
Yeah.
Just do it as good as you can. But that's why you're on top. That's why your podcast does well, because you do, you put your heart into it, and you put, everything into it. So what's the point of doing it if you're not going to do it well? But what's the point of doing it if you're not going to do it well?
I mean, I'm not going to half-ass
anything. And I think the most important thing is if you enjoy the podcast, and I think you do have fun doing it. I mean, you get to talk to cool people all the time. You know what I mean? You get to talk to cool people. You get paid for it. Like, it's a cool gig.
It has its perks. I mean, it's pretty surreal at a lot of times, and a lot of times I don't feel like I feel like I don't feel like it's real, and that's why I've always had a hard time trusting, what money it does make. It's like, man, like, this doesn't feel real. I can get paid to do this,
It's not real money.
It's weird. It really doesn't feel real, but
it doesn't, like. Do you feel like you could count on it? Like, do you feel like at any point it could just end?
Oh yeah, it definitely can. And that's why I'm scared to. That's why the whole
the helmets.
Yeah, that's why it's not that. I mean, I'll never be able to give up that stuff, because I'll always want to stay practiced in that world. But if I'm painting a minimum of 2 helmets a month versus, you know, 4, 5, 6, then I'm still making good money on those helmets and I can spend more time on this. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things. Like right now, like I'm almost done with this T-Sport. I got a lot of great friends coming to help me out on it. You know, I had Tony at Rebels Den got me a lot of parts I needed for it. I got Justin at Hang 'em High doing a lot of physical wrenching and getting things apart, rebuilding forks, new tires, new bearings on everything. And my buddy Matt's powder coating everything. So it's like a quick custom.
Everybody's helping out.
Yeah, a lot of guys that I you know, that I depend on, in, you know, as friends and help in this stuff. And then the bagger, though, I gotta start on it soon. I got like 5 paint jobs sketched, but no color on any of them. I can't figure out a color scheme, and so.
And you have no idea. Color is really.
Your mic went to something else.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can. I think your mic like clicked onto your laptop or something like that, or your headphones did.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it disconnected. Hold on, turn Bluetooth off. Sorry about it. Yeah, I turned on my computer because I wanted to segue in.
It did it again.
But, it's back on now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Now it's working.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I shut it off the computer. The color thing, I'm terribly colorblind, so I'm the wrong person.
Yeah.
But like, if I have to paint anything, I always go to the same colors because, and I take no risk when it comes to color. You know, gray, beige, white, gold, like really simple, like no risk at all. Poland is doing a helmet for me, and I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
You know. And he's like, you know, tell me what you like. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, look, I have to assume you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm going to say gray, beige, white. So I take no risk. So I don't know how you as a painter come up with any color, especially your own bike. Isn't it so much harder when it's your bike?
Well, when someone gives you a color to go off of, it almost becomes exponentially easier to do the paint job, because that's probably the hardest part, because the color and the balance of color between the paint and the rest of the bike really make up essentially the bike. You know what I mean? So I'm much more personally, like, I like warmer colors, like your browns, golds, oranges, things like that. I purposely made myself do the Dyna in a more cool tone with the purple. The gray is a much more blue tone gray than like it could have been the red side of things.
It's got white as well, right?
It's got touches of white. It's actually a really, really light gray is on the side panel.
Is it? Okay. That's okay.
So on the bagger, the last 2 paint jobs I've had have been kind of my, like, the thing I like the most, right? I love orange. I'm starting to lean towards another orange bike because orange was not really represented at Daytona very well. Like, there wasn't really anything orange there. But I don't know. I've had so many orange bikes in my life that I feel like I'm not doing myself any justice. You know, really reaching out.
Your FXR was orange?
My FXR was gold. So
okay. Yeah.
And then my first bagger was black and white. Essentially, it was gray, white, black, a little bit of red pinstripe. And then the bagger that was on all the covers of the magazine and all the different shit, like, that was my favorite paint job. And honestly, it's because I used a color that no one ever used. So it really was pretty unique in itself. And it had the flow that I wanted. I just loved that paint job. So I have had a hard time topping that for myself.
What was the color?
It was a gray base with candy gold over it, and it kind of makes it to a brownish, greenish gold. Okay. And then you pair that up with like the white pearl and things like that. Like it just really hit with me real well. But that paint job and the one I had before Sturgis last year, those were weak paint jobs. Like, I started on Monday and it's on the bike Friday, and that's not. I can't do that for a customer because I'm cheating all the dry times. I never buff those bikes. You know what I mean? I just kind of put it out there just to get it done, because essentially for a week I'm not making any money while I'm working on my own shit. And
so the bike you just did, is his name Jake? The blue bike? Yeah,
the blue one, yeah.
So that's out of the box. Those colors were out of the box. Because
he wanted a North Carolina themed bike.
Okay.
He graduated from that college, and I said, like, I'm down to use those colors, but I'm not trying to make it line for line like the Argyle pattern from North Carolina. But
okay,
you know, but he also had that was a lot of parts. Like, he has a full King Tour pack for that bike and everything. There's a lot of fucking parts on that bike. Yeah.
Like the blue was just different as the base.
Yeah, so we made that blue.
Okay.
We took another customer and recommended a Ford Focus color called like I can't remember the name of the blue, and I ordered like a small amount of it, and it was a little bit too blue, so I added some more white to it, kind of baby blued it out, and then used the blue pearl over the top, and it kind of gave it a really nice pop, and I like that. So Justin, my machinist, had said like that this is the year of the pastels. Like, a lot of people are doing more pastel type colors. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of over flake at the moment. Like, I want to try to find, like, flake and leaf are two things that easily wow anybody that sees it. You know what I mean? You walk into to that bike anywhere in the sun, under a gas station, lights at night, leaf and flake are going to pop, they're going to bling, and they're going to draw people's attention. So they're kind of low-hanging fruit for the paint world, and I'm guilty 100% of using it to my advantage a lot. So with the new bagger, I want to try to figure out how to create the flow that I feel like really sets my paint jobs apart from most other people, is the way that they flow from front to back. And a color scheme that doesn't look like I took one of Poland's helmets and painted my bike like that, or took one of Jeremy's paint jobs and changed a few things. Like, I want it to look like, you know, honestly, a perfect example is like RG Destroyer's bike is, to me, and I don't know how to say this because I feel like when I say it, it sounds wrong, but it's really the ultimate compliment. I could never in my life come up with that paint job. Never. It goes against everything about paint that I believe in for my personal style. But I fucking love it. I love it to death.
It's one of my favorite paint jobs. Yeah. Simply because it just doesn't make sense, right? And it's kind of random. It's like the Tron bike, right? It's futuristic. It looks like Tron. The lines are kind of wonky. I don't mean that like as in poor. I mean the line. It just doesn't. There's like no.
It doesn't fit any of the molds that we've had. It's completely out of it.
It doesn't fit mold. And I don't mean wonky as in bad. I mean wonky as in it just doesn't make sense, the panels. But it works so good. And I told Jeremy, I'm like, this is probably one of my favorite paint jobs. And it's not like, if I look at it compared to the blue bike we're just talking about, the blue bike flows front to back. It makes sense. The paint is stunning. It's crazy. Adam's bike doesn't have that. But it works so well. Yeah. Like, I can't even explain it.
There's also that aspect. Okay, well, maybe Jeremy kind of just opened up Pandora's box with doing paint jobs that go against everything that we individually as painters kind of believe in. But I don't know that I can take that risk right now. You know what I mean? Like, Adam, if anybody knows Adam and that bike fit together like a glove, 100%.
That bike is that I was just going to say that, like, if you know Adam, you know that bike, being as wild as it is him. Yeah. It's his pink or his fluorescent Crocs, and that he's always worn.
I mean, if you saw his Pan America that, like Monty and them striped up at Sturgis, it also used a lot of those kind of Miami Vice kind of style colors. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's just sometimes, like, I feel like the only way to really come up with a badass paint job is to let it come to me on its own terms. Yeah. And when I'm trying to
have you ever tried to paint a bike like out of the box, like just like throw everything to the wind and say, okay, I'm going to do this one just different than any way I've ever done it before?
No, I haven't. And the reason I haven't is because I've never had the luxury of time to try that. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have that luxury to try it on a helmet, but not a motorcycle. You know what I mean? And a helmet's
So
go ahead.
if we look at Adam's bike, did you speak to Jeremy about how the process went? Was it like, Adam said, just do this, or was it carte blanche? Was it just...
Well, from what I know about Jeremy, like, and Jeremy, if I'm wrong, correct me, sometime. From what I know about Jeremy, like, he paints bikes in sections. Like, I can't do that. I'm like a one project at a time, and I can't do multiple projects at the same time because I don't have the bandwidth in my head to focus on it the same way. So, like, Jeremy will be juggling 4 paint jobs at the same time. He'll be working on the fairing of one and the saddlebags of another and the gas tank of one, and then, you know what I mean? So he doesn't do them all at the exact same time, and I do everything on that bike the exact same time. So,
okay.
I can look at that paint job and figure out how he did it 100%. I mean, that's one of the things that as painters, you kind of get to you always do that. You're always dissecting paint jobs you see to see, oh, I wonder if they did this first or that first. It's just, it's the way we admire everybody's craft or everybody's like way of coming to that end game with that paint job. But Jeremy's just got, I don't feel like Jeremy's ever been controlled the way that I am in a specific style. Like, Jeremy's art has always been he's always taken a lot of chances. And like I said, with this one, even his personal bike, he really hit it out of the park with that one. You know what I mean? It was just different. It was nothing we've seen. The colors were like just so loud and at you, but very pleasing to the eye. And, but I kind of like the fact that that's his thing, and that's his style.
Jeremy's good at making things that shouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's really good at that. And, it works for some people. It won't work. Like, I can see how if your mind, you look at a bike as a front to back canvas, as one canvas.
Yeah.
It's hard for you to envision 5 canvases. And then how do you tie those 5 canvases together?
Exactly.
Because you don't work in that way. But that's why, that's why you have different, that's why, he does certain bikes, you do certain bikes, and you can tell the difference between those bikes.
Yeah. I mean, we can always,
everybody has a different style.
Like I said, there's the, not to say that Big Trouble's bike is basic at all, but I mean, doing reproducing that skunk CVO scheme. I mean, all of us painters can do that. You know what I mean? I think Jeremy still did a good job of making it unique in his own way.
But that was all Mark.
Yeah, Mark's
more.
He's hard to peel the layers of creativity out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't think when we talked about that bike early on, and it was like, how do you keep it looking like a CVO? You don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, that Hurricane Battleship Gray, whatever they called it, CVO, was the nicest CVO they've ever put out.
Yeah.
But that's also because I love Nardo Gray, like that color, that cement gray. So, like, you don't want to lose that on that build, because then what's the point of building a CVO?
Yeah, for sure. It gets complicated with that. I think probably one of the most, like I said, the 2012 CVOs, like the skunk one and the candy orange one and the root beer one, like those paint schemes are probably my favorite of all time with CVOs. And they're pretty rare bikes. Like, there's not a lot of those, especially the paint schemes. Like the white ones, like when you see those white skunk ones go around, I think one of the homies rides one of those in our kind of circle. McNasty. Yeah, he has one. Yeah. And those bikes are they still bring a lot of fucking money, man.
Big money. Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a difference. And I like the fact that I don't want to paint every bagger. Like, and I'm sure Jeremy doesn't want to either, because if you go to like the Hardcore Cycle Show, which was yesterday, and it's just all your work competing against each other, that's just, I don't know, it's different. It's not really the same vibe, as opposed to, if everything in there was me like that. I mean, yeah, there's part of me that'd be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'm the shit. But there's the other part of me like, this is kind of weird. Like, I'd rather there be a mix of things, and Well,
I think we're only seeing a snapshot of what we see online.
For sure.
We didn't see all the bikes there. So, but that brings up to another. What did you think of the new bikes that dropped in Daytona? Like, did you have a favorite? Did you?
Honestly, I think my favorite bikes that I've seen in Daytona is, I think, probably Boosted Brad's FXR is one of my favorites.
He took home best of show, right?
Yeah, I feel like that bike really. I don't know. I've always been a Boosted Brad fan, and the bikes that he personally builds, and I think that he personally built that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Who is it? Obviously, I think that we all kind of have been seeing Not Interesting Ben's bike for the last couple of months kind of a lot, so maybe it wasn't so much of it being a reveal at Daytona the way the Big Trouble's bike was. I feel like there's some bike I'm missing that other than RG's.
There's the NAMS bike that came out that really had the crazy carbon fiber on it.
Oh yeah. It had it almost looked printed in some kind of weird way.
Yeah. But it came from Hoffman, so I know it's real.
Yeah.
There's a red bike that won the skinny tire bike. It was a red road.
Oh yeah, Leafers built that. I really like, and I don't give my homie Jason from NSD Paintworks enough credit. He paints a lot of the DA bikes. That dude, he killed it on that red Street Glide from DA, the carbon red one. 100% one of my favorites of Daytona. And knowing the guys at DA, they've always been heavy in the big wheel, the fat tire world. But Chuck and those guys, they want to do more performance bagger stuff. Their customer base hasn't really lent themselves to go heavily that way that they'd like to go, because they're big. Their shop has been, heavy in the stereos and things like that. So getting all those people to kind of move over to the performance bagger style, with this, stock size front wheels and things like that, it takes a while for some of these shops to acclimate their customers to that. You know what I mean?
It could be the city they're in too, is Chicago. I would think the more urban city, the less, with a lot of the guys who ride these performance baggers, people kind of live in the middle of nowhere. They're the guys who are really touring. Yeah. It's not as flashy of a style. Yeah. So, it's not attracting the same kind of people.
Yeah. If you go to Houston, it's still heavy in the big wheel bagger shit. They're still building 34s and 30s down there. Like they don't give a shit.
Florida's the same thing. Florida's the same shit, right?
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I don't understand where these people get the money or how they build them, but it's cool. The DA bike, that red bike, that's the same bike as the one before that they had was gray.
Yeah, it was like a purple and gray one or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Same bike. They just rebuilt it. That's cool to take a bike that's already built, rip it all down, and just redo it again.
That's his personal bike. That's Chuck's personal bike that he rides around on. Because when I rode up there, we went riding together. He took me through all the south side and told me it wasn't that bad.
Their bikes, they ride street glides.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this year has been a good year for the street glide movement.
Yeah.
There's been a lot more street glides that are starting to get the look that I feel is making them a lot more palatable to us road glide snobs. You know what I mean?
I feel like because we see so many road glides that when I see a street glide, I'm always like a little more impressed by it, because it's like the guys who are building street glides are building them because they don't want to build another road glide.
Yeah.
So it's like, you want to build something out of the box, build a street glide, make it super impressive. Build a King, make it super impressive, because you don't see any bat ones anymore. Nobody builds them, and the guys who have them eventually will convert them or something like that.
I can't wait till that. Yeah, I'm so over the FXR fairings on touring models.
I was going to say, you don't see them a lot anymore.
Not that. When I see one, I just want to throw up in my mouth. Nothing that bad, but I'm just kind of like, it's been low-hanging fruit for a while. I would rather see, one of those Memphis Shades fairings like Kyle did on his Road King, or someone just own the fact that they have a Road King and rock that fucking fairing, that fairingless bike with the wind straight to your face. Be a man, Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna. What do you think is going to be new this year?
New this year?
It's hard. It's a hard one. Like, do you think we're going to see? Yeah, even if I'm asking myself, it's a hard question to answer. If we think we're going to see anything new,
I'll tell you what I think we're going to see. I think that I know for a fact that there are parts coming out from major brands like the Performance Machines and a lot of those bigger powerhouse product companies have a lot of cool shit coming out that fits our genre of bikes. So that's one thing. So we're going to get a little bit more mainstream style parts. And trust me, PM parts have never been bad parts. You know what I mean? So like if you get PM mid controls and PM grips and PM comes out with their new bar and riser setup, it's all going to be good shit, right?
Yeah.
What I really think this year is going to be is the ST is going to be the king once they hit this. I mean, I got one right now that as soon as it hits the dealership, it's at the shop to paint and to throw some parts on it, whatever we can. I think that bike's going to kind of steal the show at Sturgis this year. I think there's going to be a lot of builds with that bike.
But can you recognize an ST? I mean, you take an ST, you change out the front fender, you put the bars on it, you put on a pipe.
I don't know that, the problem with the Softails, and I think we've talked about this before with the Softails.
Sorry, you're talking about the Softail. I thought you were talking about the Road Glide.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Okay. I don't feel that's going to...
The Road Glide ST, I mean, honestly, for $29,000 or something like that, just get a fucking regular one and do a motor. You know what I mean?
Get the standard. Don't even get the most basic one you can buy.
I mean, all it's going to be is it'll be like the bike where everybody has the same bike. You know what I mean? The ST, it's got the gold wheels and it's got the gray paint. And I mean, the cut, I mean, honestly, if you're looking for a bike to just ride and throw a couple of personal items on there to make it comfortable for you, fuck yeah, that's the bike to go with.
100%.
So if you're looking to build something, that's definitely not the bike to start with.
No, I agree with that. Because they put on a few little parts that everybody puts on anyways. Yeah. And that they're probably be the first plates. And it's got a front fender. It's good for the motor. Yeah. I guess at least you get the motor out of it. Yeah. But you buy a standard and you build it, it'll cost you the same money and you're building it kind of your way. But you're right. If you're not doing anything to it, it's the bike. But
well, I think right now we all kind of, I've said on this podcast many times that we're supposed to be seeing the monoshock bagger. I've heard a lot of different things though since then. I've heard that it's not necessarily going to be a road glide or a street glide. It's going to be a version of that in a different trim. So it might be an all around new type of bagger, which it would have to be anyway to kind of fit that new motor and the monoshock and everything the way that it would be a completely different design setup. It would be more like a metric bike, to be honest with you. And I think that a lot of people are probably going to be holding off to see what January looks like next year and if there's any more mid-year drops this year of bikes, because I don't know that there's much anything else that we can do to these performance baggers that's going to really change anything. I mean, Kyle's built some crazy shit. We got I just don't know what else is going to happen. I don't know what else could happen that would really be groundbreaking this year on these bikes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know you asked me that last time, like, what do I see next? It's so hard and everything's being done. It's so hard to say what we could expect next. Like, at least Harley came out with a new platform that people could play with, like the ST, the Lowrider ST.
What if Harley, and I was thinking about this in the shower this morning for some stupid ass reason. Do you think Harley will ever release their own version of moto style bars for their touring models as an option to buy?
I think on this new monoshock they will.
What if they're, because I thought about that too. I was like, what if they do what Indian did and do that stupid shit where you had to run like how Indian put the bars way up in the way forward under the fairing where you couldn't have a true T-bar in it? I mean, it had like the leverage situation.
If you look at like the new BMW, they're similar setup, the front end of those bikes, right? A lot of the touring bikes have those front ends where there's so much covering it. I think Harley's listening a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly they are. They came out with a sport version of the touring bikes. They came out with that ST, like a throwback, version of a Softail. So they're listening little. So I think they realize that anything they put out, we're going to mess with it.
Yeah.
So I think that it'd be dumb not to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of worries about the new bike. I don't know if I want to buy the first year of it, but, because right now it's like I want an ST lowrider, but I'm not paying the premiums that they're gonna be asking for these bikes, because there's not gonna be a lot of them in the dealership until the end of the year. I think they're only getting 300 on this first run, and after that it'll probably be another 2 months. It's just like the Pan Am. The Pan Am came out, like every dealership got like 1 or 2, and then it was like 2 months later, and then they started kind of dropping out pretty heavily right before Sturgis.
Yeah.
Sorry, I still got the lisp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this year is just going to be a year that maybe people need to just ride, just go enjoy things. And
I agree. Just ride, because I think we're going to start seeing more flashy bikes than we ever have before. A lot of gold plating, because the thing is, anybody who wants to get in the scene now, they're going to say, okay, well, it's got to be crazier than, not very interesting Ben's bike, which is green carbon and crazy paint, and it's got a turbo on it and stuff. So somebody's going to say it's got to be crazier than that, or crazier than Adam's bike, which is kind of like quirky looking, super cool bike. So I think people are going to kind of ruin it, is what I'm saying.
I feel like another thing that needs to be, I feel like I have not done a good job saying this enough, but San Diego Customs has been putting out consistently some killer ass bikes, and I don't know why the fuck it always slips my mind in these conversations to bring it up. Like Danny G's most recent bike is fucking phenomenal, and it's a very simple build. It's a very simplistic build.
They had 2 bikes on my top 10 list.
Yeah, and then when they put the Sport Glide bags on the touring model, they
on their bike,
dude, they are one of the real OGs of the whole performance bagger thing, with Danny G back in 2015 making these bikes. And I can't, I've done a bad job talking about them the way that they should be talked about when it comes to this stuff.
I think it's because we overlook them because they don't give a shit what we say about them.
Yeah, I think it's that too, but it's also like, we're not seeing them on this side of the country, and
they don't post their bikes well enough.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't see them. The bike that had the Sport Glide bags, they barely posted that bike.
Yeah.
And they built it for a really long time, and then they posted it, but the pictures weren't great. They didn't do full photo shoots. And, I'm on their page right now, and we have some pictures of it, but they never like I said, it's like they build it for themselves and they don't care.
Yeah.
Which is a good attitude. It's a cool attitude to have. And, I speak to the guys and they're super cool over there. And so they get overlooked because they don't put enough content online for us to look at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Danny's bike, it came out, he did a good shoot. Everybody loved it. It was super sick. And I think the fact that it was his bike added to the appeal of it.
Yeah.
Because he's really an OG in this. And, that those two, they're such OGs. So they're like, I think that's what it is. And then, the one with the Sport Glide bags, that it was barely posted.
Yeah.
I think there's one decent post of it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because it's their own bike, and it's not a Born Free that, they do a Born Free build, a ton of pictures get posted, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. They're top of the game. They're top,
Yeah.
There's everybody, and then there's them, kind of like above everybody else, but because they're like the performance Harley gods that, like, it's like you don't talk about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like Fight Club.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah.
And they don't give a fuck what you say either way.
Yeah, it's just more of a pay respects of what they've kind of helped curate for us to jump on and do our own thing too, and things like that. But yeah, they rocked out some really killer bikes over the last year. Yeah,
never overdone, always very tastefully done.
Yeah.
They put out a bike recently, a white one. It's got white with carbon cutouts and stock front end, nothing too wild, but it's so tastefully, so perfectly done.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of shops that could build like a really beautiful bike. See, that's what the big wheel guys aren't going to understand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They think they have to build the flashiest, brightest, craziest paint to get into the scene. And, San Diego Customs is a perfect example of a less is more builder.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the paint might not be so wild. Like, and Danny G's bike had crazy paint, but the bike, it also has stock front end on it. You know, I think it has stock brakes on it, but it's still a stunning, crazy bike. It's a less is more build.
Yeah.
You know, that deserves to be right up there with the baddest builds around.
Yeah. And like I said, those guys have been killing it. And I think obviously Daytona just took place, but it's going to be very interesting to see Sturgis, because I know there's a lot of bikes coming out for Sturgis. I don't know. Sturgis is going to be interesting this year for sure. I've never really got to do Laconia because, like I said, I know you have the event. We were talking about that off air. It's every year in June is when me and my buddies do our trip across the country. And last year we went through Laconia, but we were a week before the rally. It just we couldn't line it up to be there at the time and whatnot. But yeah, June's just that one time of year where we can kind of travel the entire country a little bit. Like there's still the option or still the possibility of passes that we won't be able to go across in the mountains and certain parts of the country that are going to be off limits due to weather. Yeah. But it gives us enough time before Sturgis to be ready to go to Sturgis and after our camp out to prepare for the trip. So,
you can't make all the trips. Like nobody can make all the trips. I mean, if you can, I get it. You know what I mean? And also Laconia it's northeast. And, you're coming from all the way across country. That's a big fucking trip.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm definitely going to do Laconia at some point in time. It's just one of those things where I have to weigh out everything, and I've spent a lot of time going east the last 2 years, and I've had my fill. I need to go get back to the big open roads, the big sky. I need to feel that right now. That's really my balance whenever of riding. Like I need enough of that to palette all the tall trees and zero visibility of the landscape of going east. So yeah,
I love that. There's a road I do in Laconia, and it feels like you're going down a roller coaster. Like the trees are arching above you, and the road is just winding through it, and it's dark. Like it'll be sunny out, and it's dark. This whole road, and it's a beautiful page road. It literally feels like a roller coaster. I love that. You don't see. It's such an amazing experience. There's one road in particular down there that I love to do, I do northeast riding. A lot of trees. Yeah. You got to watch out the leaves on the ground. The roads are wet all the time. You got to be sure the roads are shitty because you're getting, some of the best roads. You'll be great one year. The next year you can't even ride them because the potholes are so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about up there though that I do I do love being up there. That's why I've done it twice in the last year and a half, and I plan on spending some more time up there. But I just need to kind of spread myself out across the country as much as I can, because for the podcast and for other aspects of my business, the West provides a lot of content to help keep us relevant. The East has some of the best people ever. And, just, I don't know, like, I guess I've kind of had my fill of the Smokies for a while. I've had my, because it's like when you're at the Smokies, you're like, fuck yeah. And you're like, all right, let's go hit the ocean. You're like, oh, there's a bunch of shit between here and the ocean. So then you're like 200 miles away from the ocean, when if you're like in California, you're like, it's right there, So
yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, I'll be back east soon. It's just, with Craig's Campout, with Daytona, with the Smoky Mountain Tour, with,
what does your year look like?
My year right now looks like Campout. June 1st, we leave for Pacific Northwest, and then I'm home, and I have tons of helmets to do. And then Sturgis, and with Sturgis this year is straight work for me. I'm staying with Simpson. Simpson setting up a booth this year. So I'm going to be staying with them and hanging out in their booth quite a bit. And then if things allow it, if the planets align, I'm going to leave Sturgis and then go do a California run for podcasts. So that's my goal, and then get back home. And then we're doing the hometown rally in Milwaukee because they're going to do the BRL there. So I want to kind of finally get to experience one of those. And then from there, it'll probably just be the down south Campout and some local things that I want to do a little bit more things that are like selfish, not traveling far, just me and close friends or me and my wife, you know, small little camping things or little, you know what I mean? Like stuff that's not huge publicity type things. If that makes sense. So, and then the down south Campout, that's the only other one that I every year I go, I say I never come back, but I do. It's just weird. Florida.
Yeah, well, it's a good time. It's
you
fun,
forget
right?
about it, right?
Well, that's Florida.
Yeah.
Right? He said, I'm never going back to Florida. The last time I went to Daytona, I said, I'll never go back. And I've missed it so much every year since, simply because I can't go back. But I don't miss Florida. I miss the guys. Like, that's what you miss.
I would definitely, I would definitely go to Daytona. I guess for me, like, I don't have a winter like most of you guys, right? So I'm not itching to get out as bad as everybody else. I'm not, there's a lot of things that aren't happening here that's way different than, for the rest of the country that is antsy for that first dry payment to go get out. But yeah, when you start seeing everybody posting online about going, and then you see the first group of guys get together and they're, like Steve Chamberlain FaceTime me Thursday night while they're fucking all partying at the house, like trying to rub it in and shit. I love that. And I love the fact that, I'm here and they're still not having as good of a time because I'm not there. So they have to FaceTime me. But no, it's, I love all these things,
You like to think that you're missed when you're there, but it's like, if they're even thinking.
They're probably talking shit about me. That's why they call me. Who fucking sucks? Jace. Let's call him. But no. Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to do, I think one of my friends, James, I think said something on a podcast recently we did, like last year. I want to try to do something different. And it's tough because much like I'm saying with the paint jobs, I have my go-to things that I'm comfortable with. I have that with trips and places. Like I have those places that I know I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to check all the boxes of things I want to experience. And I know I'm going to get that at Sturgis or in California. But there are other parts of the country that I want to ride and really take in and see and get to experience. And I got to find a way to work those into a schedule.
You need to do like a European motor trip.
Yeah, good luck. It'll happen one day.
You take these trips and you fly out there. And have you heard about the Harley cruise?
Is that the one that like
you go with your bike on a cruise ship and it brings you out there? There's something like that.
That's a different tax bracket than I am.
It could be. But and the bike goes on and off the boat with you, and you stop at places, and that sounds pretty fucking crazy. My dad in the 80s, or maybe it was the 90s, my dad had a buddy, and he shipped his like fully custom Softail to, I don't know where he was, Amsterdam or Spain or something like that. Yeah. And he rode all over Europe on the bike.
I definitely, that's a huge goal
Bucket
to
list.
do some of those type of things in life. And, but I don't know. I feel like those opportunities are going to come whenever they, they'll present themselves right now. But I truly am still enjoying riding America. Like there's still so much stuff that I haven't seen and ridden, or that I could literally go back for another 10 years in a row and do. And so I kind of fulfill my need to travel on bikes here. But I know there is a small little part of me in the back. There's a big part of me in the back of my head and my consciousness that wants to go to Europe or wants to do South America, wants to do all these foreign places and experience motorcycling. But I just don't, I never thought that I would, have a lot of the opportunities that I've had. And I just don't know. I just let the universe bring it to me in some form or fashion.
You got to wait for like the guy who follows you, the rich guy who lives in somewhere in Europe that starts messaging you about how good your podcast is, and you got to become his buddy.
Yeah. I hear those stories all the time, but they never call me though. Oh yeah, I got a buddy in Dubai, flew me out. We had a fucking blast. I'm like, yeah, it'd be dope. But
he probably had to jerk him off though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good at it, so.
Yeah,
I'll do that for a trip to Dubai.
Look, if you get a trip to Dubai out of it, it might be worth it, right?
Yeah, trust me, it ain't gonna. It's 5 seconds of my, realistically, a good solid minute and a half of my life for all that opportunity, dude. Shit, I'll be gay for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it works for all those girls who fly on all these trips, right?
Hell yeah.
On a boat.
Lucky bitches.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. So what else you got coming up? We'll start wrapping this bad boy up.
I mean, that's it. I'm going to work on this Laconia thing. I'm going to try and get out to whatever events I can this year. I've been grounded for a while, so I'm going to have hoodies and t-shirts and hats coming out soon. Mm-hmm. I haven't released anything in a while, and everybody's kind of bugging me for stuff. I never know what to release, so I don't release them. You know what I mean? Like, that's the struggle is, I've released stuff that I don't love, and I hate it every time. Yeah. So, but I will have some stuff coming out soon. Come to my ride in Laconia. Donate. Money's going to a really good cause, and just come hang out with everybody. I'm going to try and get to whatever events I can this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I might be flying into events for a day and leaving. I would like to be more involved in person this year. And that's what I would really like to do. We'll see if life allows for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'll be waiting for a new touring bike to drop, because when it drops, I'll be one of the first guys there. It'll be
exciting. Yeah, for sure. Well, cool, Daniel. Yeah. Thank you for doing this. And
always.
Yeah, we kept it under 3 hours today, dude. It's good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We're getting lazy. We've spoken too much. We got nothing left to talk about.
Yeah. Short time frame between the last time we talked, but
yeah,
well, cool.
It's all good, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna try to get this podcast uploaded tonight or first thing in the morning. And
take care, buddy.
I appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Cool. Take care. Later, man.
Yo, I want to thank Daniel for coming on the podcast and sharing some of his insights on the last almost year since we've talked on this podcast. I believe it's almost been a year. But anyway, thank you again, Daniel. And love watching the page grow. Proper Baggers. You guys should be following on Instagram. Sorry, I'm struggling with my speech right now. My bad. Guys, we're going to be hammering down with this Campout for the next couple of months. And I'm sorry if you have no intentions of coming and it's not some shit you want to hear, but it's going to happen. I'm sorry. It's all about it. It's our event. It's the one that we put everything we got into it. And we want to make it better and better every year and try to get as many people to experience that type of motorcycle adventure. So if you guys haven't heard, it's going to be May 5th through the 8th at the K River Campground in Moyers, Oklahoma. If you're tent camping, just show up, pay the fees, and it's out to the races. If you're trying to get a cabin, you're shit out of luck. That shit's been booked since the day we stopped the last camp out. I think you might be able to rent an RV somewhere. I don't really know how that works personally, but it's a good time, man. Don't worry. Just come sleep in the dirt with me. It's a good time. We got some more podcasts coming this month. We're finally at a point where we can ramp up some of this production. Daytona is actually taking place now, but all the projects that had to get done for Daytona is now out of my shop. And now I'm able to focus on helmets and podcasts. So looking forward to the next couple of months of work. And remember, you guys, if you want to check out more unreleased podcasts, you can do so by checking our Patreon, which is patreon.com/FastLife Garage. And all it takes is $1 a month to support this podcast and get quite a bit of unreleased content that just goes on Patreon. So thanks, and hope you guys have a great week, and we're going to see you back real soon with some more episodes.